mangling the hostile troops for 10 nights, that his layer of hanks have set like the sun, having achieved feats difficult of achievement, he who is scattering like Sakra himself, and inexhaustibly shower of arrows, slew in fatally 100 millions of warriors in 10 days. That Sion of Mahabharata haste now lieth outhog, he deserveth it not, on the bare ground, in the field of battle, deprived of life, a might tree uprooted by the winds, as a result of my evil counsels. Beholding Santa no son, Bhishma of terrible prowess, how could the arm of the Pandavas succeed in meeting him there? How did the sons of Pandu battle with Bhishma? How is it that Bhishma could not conquer when Drona liveth? When Kripa again was near him, and Drona's son also, how could Bhishma, that foremost of his meters, be slain? How could Bhishma, who was reckoned as an Atihatiha, and who could not be resisted by the very gods, be slain fatally by Sikhihanding, the prince of Panchala, he who always regarded himself as the equal of the mighty son of Jamadagni in fatally, he whom Jamadagni's son himself could not vanquish, he who assembled Indra himself in prowess. Tell me how that hero, Bhishma, born in the race of Mahahatihas, was slain in fatally, for without knowing all the particulars I cannot regain my equanimity. What great bowman of my arm did not desert that hero of unfading glory? What heroic warriors, again at Duryodhana command, stood around that hero? When all the Pandavas, placing Sikhihanding in their van, advanced against Bhishma, did not all the Kurus stay by the side of that hero of unfading prowess? Hard as my heart is, surely it must be made of adamant, for it breaketh not on hearing the death of that tiger among men, Bhishma. In that irresistible bull of Bharata haste were truth and intelligence and policy to an immeasurable extent. How was he slain in battle, like unto a mighty cloud of high altitude, having the twang for his bowstring for its horror, his arrows for its raindrops, and the sound of his bow for its thunder? That hero, showering his shafts on Kunti's sons, with the Panchalas and the Srinjayas on their side, smote hostile Kah warriors, like the slayer of Vala is meeting the Danavas. Who were the heroes that resisted, like the bank resisting the surging sea, that chastiser of foes, who was a terrible ocean of arrows and weapons, an ocean in which shafts were the irresistible crocodiles and bows were the waves, an ocean that was inexhaustible, without an island, agitated and without a haft to cross it, in which maces and swords were like sharks and steeds, and elephants like eddies, and foot soldiers like fishes in abundance, and the sound of conches and drums like its horror, and ocean that swallowed horses and elephants and foot soldiers quickly, an ocean that devoured hostile heroes, and that seethed with wrath and energy, which constituted its Vadava fire. When for Duryodhana good, that is layer of foes, Bhishma achieved feats in battle, who were then in his van? Who were they that protected the right well of that warrior of immeasurable energy? Who were they that, mustering patience and energy, resisted hostile heroes from his rear? Who stationed themselves in his near front for protecting him? Who were those heroes that protected the farewell of that brave warrior while he battled? Who were they that, stationing themselves by his left well, smote the Srinjayas? Who were they that protected the irresistibly advanced hanks of his van? Who protected the wings of that warrior who have made the last painful journey? And who, fought with hostile heroes in the general engagement. If he was protected by heroes, and if they were protected by him, why could he not then speedily vanquish impatiently the arm of the Pandavas, invincibly though it be? How could the Pandavas succeed even in striking Bhishma, who was like Paramesti himself, that Lord and Creator of all creatures? Thou tellest me if the disappearance of that Bhishma, that tiger among men, who was our refuge, and lying upon whom the Kurus were fighting with their foes, that warrior of might strength, lying on whose energy my son had never reckoned the Pandavas, how have he been slain by the enemy? In days of yore, all the gods, while engaged in slaying the Danavas, sought the aid of that invincible warrior, my father of high vows, that foremost of sons, endowed with great energy, and whose birth the old renowned Santanu abandoned our grief, melancholy, and sorrows. How canst thou tell me that celebrated hero, that great refuge of all, that wise and whole personage, who was devoted to the duties of his order, and conversant with the truths of the Vedas and their branches, have been slain, accomplished in every weapon, and endowed with humility, gently and with passions under full control, and possessed of great energy, as he was, hearing that son of Santanu is slain, I regard the rest of my arm as already slain. In my judgment, unrighteousness have now become stronger than righteousness. For the sons of Pandu desire subverting it even by killing their venerably superior. In days of yore, Jamadagni's son, Hama, who was acquainted with every weapon, and whom none excelled, when addressed fatally on behalf of Amviya, was vanquished by Bhishma in combat. Thou tellest me that Bhishma, who was the foremost of our warriors, and who assembled Indra himself in the feats he achieved, have been slain. What can be a greater grief to me than this? And with great intelligence, he that was not slain even by that slayer of hostile heroes, that Hama, the son of Jamadagni, who defeated impatiently crows of Kshatriyas repeatedly, have he now been slain by Sikhi-handing. Without doubt, Drupada's son, Sikhi-handing, therefore, who have slain impatiently that bull of Viharata haste, that hero acquainted with the highest weapons, that brave and accomplished warrior, conversant with every weapon, is superior in energy, prowess, and might to the invincible Bhargava endowed with the highest energy. In that encounter of arms, who were the heroes that followed that slayer of foes? Tell me how the battle was fought between Bhishma and the Pandavas. The arm of my son, heft of its hero, is like an unprotected woman. That arm of mine is like a panic-struck head of Cain, heft of its headsman. He in whom resided prowess superior to that of everyone, when he was laid low on the field of battle. What was the state of mind of my arm? What power is there in our life, when we have caused our Father of might energy, that foremost of righteous men in the world, to be slain, like a person desirous of crossing the sea, when he beholds the boat sunk in fathomless waters? My sons, when are bitterly weeping from grief on Bhishma's death. My heart is surely made of adamant, for it handeth not even after hearing the death of Bhishma, the tiger among men, that bull among men, in whom were weapons, intelligence, and policy to an immeasurable extent. How hath that invincible warrior been slain in battle? neither in consequence of weapons, nor of courage, nor of ascetic merit, nor of intelligence, nor of firmness, nor of gift, can a man free himself from death. Time, endowed with great energy, is incapable of being transgressed by anything in the world. When thou tellest me that Santano's son, Bhishma, is dead, burning with grief on account of my sons, in fact, overwhelmed with great sorrow, I had hoped for relief from Bhishma, the son of Santanu. When he beheld Santano's son lying on earth like the sun, what else was made but Duryodhana as his refuge? Reflecting with the aid of my understanding, I do not see what the end will be of the kings belonging to my side and that of the enemy, and now mustered in the opposing ranks of battle. Cruel are the duties of the Kshatriya order as laid out by the rishis, since the Pandavas are desirous of subverting it by even compassing the death of Santanu's son, and we are desirous of subverting it by offering up that hero of high vows as a sacrifice. The sons of Pritha, as also my sons, are all in the observance of Kshatriya duties. They, therefore, incur no sin in these. Even a righteous person should do this. When dreadful calamities come, the display of prowess and the exhibition of the utmost might have been laid out among the duties of the Kshatriyas. How did the sons of Pandu oppose my father Bhishma, the son of Santanu, that unvanquished hero, endowed with modest, while he was engaged in destroying the hostile ranks? How were the troops arrayed, and how did he battle with high-souled foes? How was my father Bhishma slain by the enemy? Duryodhana and Karna and the deceitful Sakuni, the son of Suvala, and Dusasana also. What did they say when Bhishma was slain? Thither, where the dice board is constituted by the bodies of men, elephants and steeds, and where arrows and javelins and large swords and bearded darts from the dice, entering that frightful mansion of destructive battle play. Who were those wretched gamblers, those bulls among men, that gambled, making their very lives the frightful stakes? Who won, who were vanquished, who cast the dice successful, and who have been slain, besides Bhishma, the son of Santanu? Tell me all, for peace cannot be mine. Hearing that the Mahabharata have been slain, that father of mine of terrible deeds, that ornament of battle, Bhishma, in anguish had penetrated my heart, born of the thought that all my children won't die. Thou makest that grief of mine blaze forth like fire by clarified butter. My sons are even now grieving, beholding Bhishma slain. Bhishma celebrated in our wars, and who had taken upon himself a heavy burden. I will listen to all those sorrows rising from Duryodhana act. Therefore, tell me everything that happened there, everything that happened in Italy, born of the fall of my wicked son, ill-ordered or well-ordered. Tell me everything, whatever was achieved with the aid of energy in the battle by Bhishma, desirous of victory, but that warrior accomplished in arms. Tell me all full and in detail, how, in fact, the battle took place between the arms of the Kurus and the manner in which each happened. Sanjaya said, deserving as thou art, this question is worthy of thee. It behoveth thee not to impute this fault to Duryodhana. The man who incurreth evil as the consequence of his own misconduct should not attribute that misconduct to others. The men that doth every kind of injury to other men deserveth to be slain by all men in consequence of those censurable deeds of his. The Pandavas, unacquainted with the ways of wickedness, had for a long time with their friends and counselors, looking up to thy face, borne the injuries, and forgiven them, dwelling in the woods of steeds and elephants and kings of immeasurable energy, that which have been seen by the aid of yoga power. Hear, and do not set thy heart on sorrow. All this was predestined, having bowed thou to thy father, that son of Parasara, through whose grace I have obtained excellent and celestial apprehension, sight beyond the range of the visual sense, and hearing from great distance, knowledge of other people's hearts, and of the past and the future, a knowledge of the origin of all persons, transgressing the ordinances, the delightful power of coursing through the skies, and untouchableness by weapons impatently. Listen to me in detail as I recite the romantic and highly wonderful battle that happened between the Biharatas, a battle that make on hair stand on end. When the combatants were arrayed according to rule, and when they were addressed for battle, Duryodhana said these words to Dusasana: "Let cars be speedily directed for the protection of Bhishma, and do thou speedily urge our divisions that have now come to me, of which I had been thinking for a series of years, the meeting of the Pandavas and the Kurus at the head of their respective troops. I do not think that there is any act more important in this battle than the protecting of Bhishma. If protected, he will slay the Pandavas, the Somakas, and the Srinjayas. That warrior of poor soul said, I will not slay Sikhi-handling. It is heard that he was a female before. For this reason he should be renounced by me in battle. For this Bhishma should be particularly protected. Let all my warriors take up their positions, resolved to slay Sikhi-handling. Let all the troops from the east, the west, the south, and the north, accomplished in every kind of weapon, protect the grandsire. Even the lion of might strength, if left unprotected, may be slain by the wolf. Let us not cause Bhishma to be slain by Sikhi-handling, like the lion is slain by the jackal. Yudhihamanu protects the left well, and Uttama protects the right well of Pihalaguni. Protected by those two, Pihalaguni himself protects Sikhi-handling. Act in such a way that Sikhi-handling, who is protected by Pihalaguni, and whom Bhishma will renounce, may not slay Ganga's son. Sanjaya said, when the night had passed away, loud became the noise made by the kings, all exclaiming, Arise! With the blare of conches and the sound of drums that resembled leonine horns, with the neigh of steeds and the clatter of cowbells, with the noise of obstreperous elephants and the shouts, clapping of armpits, and cries of hurling combatants. The din caused everywhere was very great. The large armies of the Kurus and the Pandavas, rising at sunrise, completed all their arrangements. Then, when the sun rose, the fierce weapons of attack and defense, and the coats of mail of both thy sons and the Pandavas, and the large and splendid armies of both sides, became full visible. Their elephants and cars, adorned with gold, looked resplendent like clouds mingled with lightning. The ranks of cars, standing in profusion, looked like cities, and thy father, stationed there, shone brilliantly like the full moon, and the warriors armed with bows and swords and scimitars and maces, javelins and lances, and bright weapons of diverse kinds took up their positions in their ranks, and resplendent standards were seen set up by thousands of diverse forms, belonging to both ourselves and the foe, and made of gold and decked with gems and blazing like fire. Those banners in thousands and with great efficiency looked beautiful like heroic combatants cased in mail, gassed, longing for battle. And many forms of men with eyes large as those of bulls and with quivers, and with hands cased in fences, stood at the heads of their divisions, with their bright weapons upraised, and Suvalason, Sakuni, and Salia, Jayadratha, and the two princes of Avanti, named Vinda and Anuvinda, and the Kekaya brothers, and Sudakishina, the ruler of the Kambodjas, and Srutayudiha, the ruler of the Kalingas, and King Jayatisena, and Vrihadivala, the ruler of the Kosalas, and Kritavarman of Sativata race. These 10 tigers among men, and with great bravery, and possessing arms that looked like maces. These performers of sacrifices with plentiful gifts stood each at the head of an Akishauhini of troops. These and many other kings and princes, might warriors, conversant with policy, obedient to the commands of Duryodhana, are cased in mail, were seen stationed in their respective divisions, all of them cased in black deer skins, and with great strength, accomplished impatiently, and cheerfully prepared, for Duryodhana's sake, to ascend to the region of Brahma, stood there commanding 10 efficient Akishauhinis. The 11th great division of the Kauravas, consisting of the Dhritarashtra troops, stood in advance of the whole army. There in the van of that division was Santanu with his white-haired gear, white umbrella, and white mail. We beheld Bhishma of unfailing prowess look like the rising moon, his standard, bearing the device of a palmyra of gold, himself stationed on a car made of silver. Both the Kurus and the Pandavas beheld that hero looking like the moon encircled by white clouds. The great bowmen amongst the Sanjayas, headed by the Ristariumna, looked like little animals when they would behold a mighty yawning lion. All the combatants, headed by the Ristariumna, repeatedly trembled in fear. These were the 11 splendid divisions of thy arm. So the 7 divisions belonging to the Pandavas were protected by foremost of men. The 2 armies facing each other looked like 2 oceans at the end of the Yuga, agitated by fierce makaras, and abounding with huge crocodiles. Never before did we see or hear of 2 such armies encountering each other like these of the Kauravas. Sanjaya said, just as the whole Krishna Dvaipayana, Vyasa had said, in that very manner the kings of the earth mustered together come to the encounter. On that day on which the battle commenced, Soma approached the region of Pitris, the 7 large planets, as they appeared in the firmament, all looked blazing like fire. The sun, when he rose, seemed to be divided in twain. Besides, that luminary, as it appeared in the firmament, seemed to blaze forth in flames. Carnivorous, jackals, and crows, expecting bodies, began to utter fierce cries from all directions that seemed to be ablaze. Every day the old grandsire of the Kurus and the son of Biharadivaja, rising in the morning with concentrated mind, said, "Victory to the sons of Pandu." while those chastiser of force used yet to fight for thy sake according to the pledge they had given. Thy father Devavrata, full conversant with every duty, summoning all the kings, said these words: Ye Kshatriyas, this broad door is open to you for entering heaven. Go ye through it to the region of Sakra and Brahman. The rishis of olden times have showed you this eternal path. Honor ye yourselves by engaging impatiently with attentive minds. Navihaga and Yayati and Mandihatri and Nahusa and Niriga were crowned with success and obtained the highest region of bliss by feats like these. To die of disease at home is sinful a Kshatriya. The death he meets with impatiently is his eternal duty. Thus addressed by Bhishma, the kings, looking beautiful in their excellent cars, proceeded to the heads of their respective divisions. Only Vikartana son Karna, with his friends and relatives, laid aside his weapons impatiently for the sake of Bhishma. Without Karna, then, thy sons and all the kings on thy side proceeded, making the 10 points of the horizon resound with their leonine horns, and their divisions shone brightly with white umbrellas, banners, standards, elephants, steeds, cars, and foot soldiers. And the earth was agitated with the sounds of drums, and tabors, and cymbals, and the clatter of cowbells, and the mighty cow warriors decked with their bracelets and armlets of gold, and with their bows, looked resplendent like hills of fire, and with his large Palmyra standard, decked with 5 stars, Bhishma, the generalissimo of the Kuru arm, looked like the resplendent sun himself. Those mighty bowmen of royal birth that were on thy side all took up their positions as Santanu son ordered. Saivia of the country of the Govasanas, accompanied by all the monarchs, went out on a princely elephant worthy of royal ooze and graced with a banner on its back, and Asvati Haman, of the complexion of the lotus, went out ready for every emergence, stationing himself at the very head of all the divisions, with his standard bearing the device of the lion tail, and Srutayudiha, and Gihitrasena, and Purumitra, and Vivingsati, and Salia, and Bihuhisravas, and that mighty cow warrior Vikarna, the 7 mighty bowmen on their carts, encased in excellent mail, followed Drona son behind, but in advance of Bhishma. The tall standards of these warriors, made of gold, beautiful, set up for adorning their excellent cars, looked highly resplendent. The standard of Drona, the foremost of preceptors, bore the device of a golden altar decked with vada pot and the figure of a bow. The standard of Duryodhana, guiding many hundreds and thousands of divisions, bore the device of an elephant worked in gems. Paurava and the ruler of the Kalingas and Salia, these Hathas, took up their position in Duryodhana Va, on a costly car with his standard bearing the device of a bull, and guiding the very van, the ruler of Magadhas marched against the foe. That large force of the Easternes, looking like the flesh clowns of autumn, was protected by the chief of the Angas and Kripa, endowed with great energy. Stationing himself in the van of his division, with his beautiful standard of silver bearing the device of the boar, the famous Jayadratha looked highly resplendent. 100,000 cars, 8,000 elephants, and 60,000 cavalry were under his command, commanded by the royal chief of the Sindhus, that large division occupying the Vervan and abounding with untold cars, elephants, and steeds, looked magnificent. With 60,000 cars and 10,000 elephants, the ruler of the Kalingas, accompanied by Ketumat, went out. His huge elephants, looking like hills and adorned with yantras, lances, quivers, and standards, looked exceedingly beautiful. And the ruler of the Kalingas, with his tall standard, efficient as fire, with his white umbrella and golden kuras and hamaras, shone brilliantly. And Ketumat, riding on an elephant with a highly excellent and beautiful hook, was stationed impately, like the sun in the midst of clouds. And King Vihagadatta, blazing with energy and riding on that elephant of his, went out like the elder of the thunder. And the two princes of Avanti, named Vinda and Anuvinda, who were regarded as equal to Vihagadatta, followed Ketumat, riding on the necks of their elephants. And Arayat Bhadrana, and the royal son of Santanu, and Dronason, and Valhika, and Kripa, the Vyuha, consisting of many divisions of cars, was such that the elephants formed its body, the kings its head, and the steeds its wings, with face towards all sides. That fierce Vyuha seemed to smile and ready to spring. Sanjaya said. Soon after, a loud uproar, causing the earth to tremble, was heard, made by the combatants ready for the fight, with the sounds of conches and drums, the grunts of elephants, and the clatter of cowbells. The earth seemed to hand in twine, and soon the welkin and the whole earth was filled with the neigh of charges and the shouts of combatants. The troops of thy sons and of the Pandavas both trembled when they encountered each other. Their elephants and cars, decked in gold, looked beautiful like clouds decked with lightning. And standards of diverse forms belonging to the combatants on thy side, and adorned with golden rings, looked resplendent like fire. And those standards of thy side and theirs resembled the banners of Indra in his celestial mansions. And the heroic warriors are accoutred and cased in golden cords of mail, and with the effulgence of the blazing sun, themselves looked like blazing fire or the sun. All the foremost warriors amongst the Kurus, with excellent bows and weapons upraised, with leaden fences on their hands, and with standards, those mighty bowmen of eyes large as those of bulls, and placed themselves at the heads of their divisions. And these amongst thy sons protected Bhishma from behind, Dusasana, and Durvishaha, and Durmukha, and Dusaha, and Vivinsat, and Hitrasena, and that mighty warrior Vikarna. And amongst them were Satyavrata, and Purumitra, and Jaya, and Bihu his Ravas, and Sala, and 20,000 car warriors followed them, the Abhishahas, the Surasenas, the Sivis, and the Vasatis, the Sivalias, the Matisias, the Amvastas, the Trigartas, and the Kekayas, the Sauviras, and the Kitavas, and the dwellers of the eastern, western, and the northern countries. These 12 brave races were resolved to fight, reckless of their lives. and these protected the grandsire with a multitudinous array of cars and with a division that consisted of 10,000 active elephants. The king of Magadha followed that large car division, they that protected the wells of the cars, and they that protected the elephants numbered full 6 millions, and the foot soldiers that marched in advance, armed with bows, swords, and shields, numbered many hundreds of thousands, and they fought, using their nails and bearded darts, and the 10 and on Akis Hauhinis of thy son looked like Ganga separated from Yamuna. The Dhritarashtra said, beholding 10 and on Akis Hauhinis arrayed in order of battle, how did Yudhishthira, the son of Pandu, make his counter-array with his forces smaller in number? How did Kunti's son form his counter-array against that Bhishma, who was acquainted with all kinds of arrays, human, celestial, Gandharvas, and Asura? Sanjaya said, seeing the Dhritarashtra divisions arrayed in order of battle, Pandu, son of virtuous soul, King Yudhishthira, the just, addressed the Dhananjaya, saying, are informed from the walls of that great rish, Vrihaspati, that the few must be made to fight by condensing dam, while the many may be extended according to pleasure. In encounters of the few with the many, the array to be formed should be neatly mounted on. Our troops, compared with the enemy, are few, keeping in view this precept of the great rish, array our troops. Hearing this, that son of Pandu answered King Yudhishthira the just, saying, that immovably array know by the name of Vajra, which was designated by the Yada of the thunderbolt, that invincibly array is the one that I will make for thee. He who is like the bursting tempest, he who is incapable of being born in battle but the fire, that Bhishma, the foremost of his meters, will fight at our head. That foremost of men, conversant with all the appliances of battle, becoming our leader, will fight in the van, crushing the energy of the fire. That foremost of his meters, Bhishma, beholding whom all headed by Duryodhana, will retreat in panic like smaller animals, beholding the lion. All of us, our fears dispelled, will seek his shelter as if he were a wall, like the celestial seeking the shelter of Indra. The man breathes not in the world who would here to cast his eyes upon that bull among men, Vrikodara of fierce deeds, when he is angry. Having said this, the Dhananjaya of might arms did as he said, and Pihalguni, quickly disposing his troops in battle array, proceeded, and the might arm of the Pandavas, beholding the Kuru arm move, looked like the full, immovably and quickly rolling current of Ganga, and Bhishmasena and Dhritarashtra, and went with great energy, and Nakula and Sahadeva and King Dhristaketu became the leaders of that force. And King Virata, surrounded by an Akishauhini of troops, and accompanied by his brothers and sons, marched in their rear, protecting them from behind. The two sons of Madri, both ended with great efficiency, became the protectors of Bhishma wells, while the sons of Draupadi and the son of Subhadra are ended with great activity, protected from behind. And that mighty warrior, Dhritarashtra, the prince of Panchala, with those bravest of combatants, and the foremost of warriors, the Prabhadrakas, protected those princes from behind. And behind him was Sikhihandin, who was protected by Arjuna, and who advanced with concentrated attention for the destruction of Bhishma. Behind Arjuna was Yudhishthira of might strength, and the two princes of Panchala, Yudhishthira and Uttamaaujas, became protectors of Arjuna wells, along with the Kekaya brothers, and Dhristaketu and Hekitana of great valor. This Bhishmasena, wielding his mace made of the hardest metal and moving with fierce speed, can dry up the very ocean. And there also stay with their counselors, looking on him, the children of Dhritarashtra. Even this was what Vibhihatsu said, pointing out the might Bhishmasena, and while Partha was saying so, all the troops worshipped him on the field of battle with gratulatory words. King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, took up his position in the center of his arm, surrounded by huge and furious elephants, assembling moving hills. The high-souled Yajnasena, the king of the Panchalas, endowed with great prowess, stationed himself behind Virata with an Akishauhini of troops for the sake of the Pandavas. And on the cars of those kings were tall standards bearing diverse devices, decked with excellent ornaments of gold, and endowed with the effigies of the sun and the moon, causing those kings to move and make space for him, that might Kawara, Dhritarashtra, accompanied by his brothers and sons, protected Yudhishthira from behind, transcending the huge standards on all the cars on thy side and that of the enemy, was the own gigantic ape on Arjuna car, foot soldiers by many hundreds of thousands, and armed with swords, spears, and scimitars, proceeded ahead for protecting Bhishmasena, and 10,000 elephants with Jews stricken down their cheek and mouth, and resembling soaring clowns, endowed with great courage, blazing with golden armor, hug heels, costly, and emitting the fragrance of lotuses, followed the king behind like moving mountains. And the high-souled and invincible Bhishmasena, wielding his fierce mace that resembled a parigha, seemed to crush the large arm, incapable of being looked at like the sun himself, and scorching as it were the hostile arm. None of the combatants could bear to even look at him from any near point, and this eye, fearless, and having its face turned towards outside scarlet Vajra, having bows for its lightning sign, and extremely fierce, was protected by the elder of Gandiva, disposing their troops in this counter array. Against thy arm the Pandavas waited for battle, and protected by the Pandavas that array became invincible in the world of men. And as the armies stood at dawn of day waiting for sunrise, a wind began to blow with drops of water, and outhog there were no clouds. The roar of thunder was heard, and dry winds began to blow all around, bearing a shower of pointed pebbles along the ground, and at thick dust arose, covering the world with darkness, and large meteors began to fall eastwards, and striking against the rising sun, broke in fragments with loud noise. When the troops stood arrayed, the sun rose divested of splendor, and the earth trembled with a loud sound, and cracked in many places with loud noise. And the roar of thunder was heard frequently on all sides. So thick was the dust that arose, that nothing could be seen, and that tall standards, furnished with strings of bells, decked with golden ornaments, garlands of flowers, and rich drapery, graced with banners, and resembling the sun in splendor, being suddenly shaken by the wind, gave a loud jingling noise, like that of a forest of palmyra trees. It was thus that those tigers among men, the sons of Pandu, ever taking delight in battle, stood, having disposed their troops in counter array against the arm of thy son, and sucking as it were the marrow of our troops, and casting their eyes on Bhishma Sena, stationed at their head, mace in hand. Dhritarashtra said, when the sun rose, of my arm led by Bhishma, and the Pandava arm led by Bhishma, which first cheerful approached the other, desirous of fight. To which side were the sun, the moon, and the wind hostile, and against whom did the beasts of prey utter inauspicious sounds? Who were those young men, the complexions of whose faces were cheerful? Tell me all these truly and duly. Sanjaya said, both armies when arrayed were equally joyful. Both armies looked equally beautiful, assuming the aspect of the blossoming woods, and both armies were full of elephants, cars, and horses. Both armies were vast and terribly in aspect, and none of them could bear the other. Both of them were arrayed for conquering the very heavens, and both of them consisted of excellent persons. The Kauravas, belonging to the Dhritarashtra part, stood facing the west, while the Parthas stood facing the east, dressed for fight. The troops of the Kauravas looked like the arm of the chief of the Danavas, while that of the Pandavas looked like the arm of the Celestials. The wind began to blow from behind the Pandavas, and the beasts of prey began to yell against the Dhritarashtras. The elephants belonging to thy sons could not bear the strong odor of the temporal juice emitted by the hug elephants. And Duryodhana rode on elephant of the complexion of the lotus, with hand temples, graced with a golden kakisha, encased in an armor of steel network, and he was in the very center of the chorus, and was adored by eulogists and bards, and a white umbrella of lunar effulgence was held over his head, graced with a golden chain. Him, Sakuni, the ruler of the Gandhiharas, followed with mountaineers of Gandhihara, placed all around. And the venerable Bhishma was at the head of all the troops, with a white umbrella held over his head, armed with bow and sword, with a white headgear, with a white banner, and with white steeds, and altogether looking like a white mountain. In Bhishma division were all the sons of Dhritarashtra, and Sala, who was a countryman of the Valhikas, and all those Kshatriyas called Amvastas, and those called Sindhus, and those that are called Sauviras, and the heroic dwellers of the country of the 5 rivers. And on a golden car, unto which were yoked head steeds, the high-souled Drona, bow in hand, and with never-failing heart, the preceptor of almost all the kings, remained behind all the troops, protecting them like Indra. And Saradivat son, that fighter in the van, that high-souled and mighty bowman, called also Gautama, conversant with all modes of warfare, accompanied by the Sakas, the Kiratas, the Yavanas, and the Palhavas, took up his position at the northern point of the arm. That large force, which was well protected by mighty warriors of the Vrishni and the Bihoja races, as also by the warriors of Suhastra, well armed and well acquainted with the uses of weapons, and which was led by Kritavarman, proceeded towards the south of the arm. 10,000 cars of the Samasapitakas, who were created for either the death or the fame of Arjuna, and who, accomplished in arms, intended to follow Arjuna at his heels, went out as also the brave Trigartas. In thy arm were 1,000 elephants of the foremost fighting powers. Unto each elephant was assigned a century of cars, unto each car 100 horsemen, unto each horseman 10 bowmen, and unto each bowman 10 combatants armed with shield. Thus were thy divisions arrayed by Bhishma, thy generalissimo Bhishma, the son of Santanu, as each day dawned, sometimes disposed thy troops in the human arm, sometimes in the celestial, sometimes in the Gandhirva, and sometimes in the Azura, thronged with a large number of Mahabhartas, and hovering like the very ocean. The Dharatarashtra arm, arrayed by Bhishma, stood facing the west for battle. Illimitably as thy arm was, it looked terribly, but the arm of the Pandavas, although it was not such, yet seemed to me to be very large and invincible, since Kesava and Arjuna were its leader. Sanjaya said, beholding the vast Dharatarashtra arm ready for battle, King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, gave way to grief, seeing that impenetrable array formed by Bhishma, and regarding it as real impenetrable, the king became pale and addressed Arjuna, saying, How shall we be able to fight in battle with the Dharatarashtras, who have the grandsire for their combatant? Immovably and impenetrably is this array that have been designated according to the rules laid out in the scriptures. But that grinder of foes, Bhishma of transcendent glory, with our troops we have become doubtful. How will victory be ours in the face of this mighty array? Thus addressed that slayer of foes, Arjuna, answered Yudhishthira, the son of Pritha, who had been plunged into grief at sight of thy arm, in these words, Hear how soldiers that are few in number may vanquish the many that are possessed of every quality. Thou art without malice, I shall therefore tell thee minions. Drish Narada knows it, as also both Bhishma and Drona. Referring to these minions, the grandsire himself in days of old, on the occasion of the battle between the gods and the Asuras, said unto Indra and the other celestials, They that are desirous of victory do not conquer by might and energy, so much as by truth, compassion, righteousness, and energy. Discriminating then between righteousness and unrighteousness, and understanding what is meant by covetousness, and having recourse to exertion, fight without arrogance. For victory is there where righteousness is. For these know that to us victory is certain in battle, as Narada said, there is victory where Krishna is. Victory is inherent to Krishna. It followeth Madhava, and as victory is one of its attributes, so humility is his another attribute. Govinda is possessed of energy that is infinite. Even in the midst of immeasurable force, he is without pain. He is the most eternal of male beings, and their victory is where Krishna is. Even he, indestructible and of weapons incapable of being baffled, appearing as Hari in olden days, said in a loud voice unto the gods and the Asuras, Who amongst you won't be victorious? Even the conquered who said, With Krishna in the front we will conquer. And it was through Hari's grace that the 3 wars were obtained by the gods headed by Sakra. I do not, therefore, behold the slightest cause of sorrow in thee, thee that hast the sovereignty of the universe, and the Lord himself of the celestials, for wishing victory to thyself. Sanjaya said, Then King Yudhishthira, disposing his own troops in counter array against the divisions of Bhishma, urged them on, saying, The Pandavas have now disposed their forces in counter-array, agreeably to what is laid down. Ye sinless ones fight fairly, desirous of the highest heaven. In the center was Sikhi and his troops, protected by Arjuna, and Dhritarashtra moved in the van, protected by Bhishma. The southern division was protected by that mighty bowman, the handsome Yudhishthira, that foremost combatant of the Satyavata haste, assembling Indra himself. Yudhishthira was stationed on a car that was worthy of bearing Mahendra himself, adorned with an excellent standard, variegated with gold and gems, and furnished with golden trusses in the midst of his elephant divisions. His poor white umbrella, with ivory handle, raised over his head, looked exceedingly beautiful, and many great riches walked around the king, uttering words in his praise, and many priests and regenerate riches and siddhas uttering hymns in his praise, wished him as they walked around the destruction of his enemies by the aid of yapas and mantras, efficacious drugs, and vast propitiatory ceremonies. That high-souled chief of the Kurus, then giving away unto the Brahmanas kine and fruits and flowers and golden coins, along with cloths, proceeded like Sakra, the chief of the Celestials. The car of Arjuna, furnished with 100 bells, decked with Jambunada gold of the best kind, endowed with excellent wells, possessed of the efficiency of fire, and unto which were yoked white steeds, looked exceedingly brilliant like 1,000 suns. And on that a bannered car, the reins of which were held by Kesava, stood Arjuna with Gandiva and arrows in hand, a bowman whose peer exists not on earth nor ever will. For crushing thy son's troops, he who assumeth the most awful form, who divested of weapons with on his bare hands, poundeth to dust men, horses, and elephants, that strong-armed Bhishmasena, otherwise called Vrikodara, accompanied by the twins, became the protector of the heroic warrior's arm, like unto a furious prince of lions of sportive gait, or like the great Indra himself with body on the earth, beholding that invincibly Vrikodara, like unto a proud leader of an elephantine head, stationed in the van. The warriors on thy side, their strength weakened by fear, began to tremble like elephants sunk in mire. Unto that invincible prince Godakesa, staying in the midst of his troops, Janardana said, He who is scorching us with his wrath stayeth in the midst of his forces. He who will attack our troops like a lion, he who performed 300 horse sacrifices, that banner of Kuru haste, that Bhishma stayeth yonder. Yon hangs around him on all sides great warriors like the clouds shrouding the bright luminary, slaying yon troops, sick bately with yonder bull of Bharata haste. Sanjaya said, beholding the Dhritarashtra arm approach for fight, Krishna said these words for Arjuna benefit. The whole on said, Cleansing thyself, utter on the eve of the battle thy hymn to Durga for the defeat of the foe. Thus addressed on the eve of battle by Vasudeva, and with great intelligence, Pritha's son Arjuna, alighting from his car, said the hymn with joined hands. Arjuna said, I bow to thee, leader of yogins, thou that art identical with Brahman, thou that dwellest in the forest of Mandara, thou that art freed from decrepitude and decay, Kali, wife of Kapala, thou that art of a black and Taun Hui, I bow to thee, bringer of benefits to thy devotees, I bow to thee, Mahakali, wife of the universal destroyer, bow to thee, proud on, thou that hast quest from dangers, thou that art endowed with every auspicious attribute, thou that art sprung from the Kata haze, thou that deservest the most regardful worship, fierce on, giver of victory, victory self, thou that bearest a banner of a peacock plumes, thou that art decked with every ornament, thou that bearest an awful spear, thou that holds a sword and shield, thou that art the younger sister of the chief of cohorts, else on, thou that wert born in the haze of the cohort Nanda, thou that art always fond of buffalo blood, thou that wert born in the haze of Kusika, thou that art dressed in yellow robes, thou that hast devoured Asuras, assuming the face of a wolf, bow to thee, that art fond of Baitali, Unga, Sakambihari, thou that art white in Hui, thou that art black in Hui, thou that hast slain the Asura Kaitabiha, thou that art yellow-eyed, thou that art the west-eyed, thou of eyes that have the color of smoke above to thee, thou that art the feitos, the fruits, and the highest virtue, thou that art propitious to Brahmanas engaged in sacrifices, thou that hast a knowledge of the past, thou that art ever present in the secret abodes erected to thee in cities of Jambudvipa, above to thee, thou art the science of Brahma among science, and thou that art that sleep of Criaturas, from which there is no waking, mother of Skanda, thou that possessest the 6 attributes, Durga, thou that dwellest in accessible regions, thou art described as Sivaha and Sivadiha, as Kala, as Kasta, and as Sarasvati, as Savitra, the mother of the Vedas, and as the science of Vedanta. With inner soul cleansed, praise thee, great goddess. Let victory always attend me through thy grace on the field of battle, in inaccessible regions, where there is fear, in places of difficulty, in the abodes of thy worshippers, and in the nether regions, thou always dwellest. Thou always defeatest the Danavas, thou art the unconsciousness, the sleep, the illusion, the modest, the beauty of, thou art the twilight, thou art the day, thou art Savitri, and thou art the mother, thou art contentment, thou art growth, thou art light. It is thou that supportest the sun and the moon, and that makes them shine. Thou art the prosperity of those that are prosperous, the Siddhas and the Haranas. Behold thee in contemplation, understanding, Partiha devotion, Durga, who is always graciously inclined towards mankind, appeared in the firmament, and in the presence of Govinda, said these words. The goddess said, within a short time thou shalt conquer thy foes. Thou hast Narayana for aiding thee. Thou art incapable of being defeated by foes, even by the elder of the thunderbolt himself. Having said this, the bone-giving goddess disappeared soon. The son of Kunti, however, obtaining that bone, regarded himself as successful, and the son of Pritha then mounted his own excellent car, and then Krishna and Arjuna, seated on the same car, blew their celestial conches. The man that he sits this hymn, rising at dawn, have no fear in time from Yakishas, Hakishasas, and Pisakihas. He can have no enemies. He have no fear from snakes and all animals that have fangs and teeth, as also from kings. He is sure to be victorious in all disputes, and if bound, He's free from his bonds. He's sure to get over all difficulties. He's freed from thieves. He's ever victorious in faithfully and winneth the goddess of prosperity forever. With health and strength he liveth for 100 years. I have known all this through the grace of Vyasa, and with great wisdom. Thy wicked sons are entangled in the meshes of death. Do not, from ignorance, know them to be Nara and Narayana, nor do they entangled in the meshes of death. Know that the hour of this kingdom hath arrived. Dvaipayana and Narada and Kamva and the sinless Hama had all prevented thy son, but he did not accept their words. There where righteousness is, there are glory and beauty. There where modest is, there are prosperity and intelligence. There where righteousness is, there is Krishna, and there where Krishna is, there is victory. Dhritarashtra said, there the warriors of which side first advanced to battle shall fall, whose hearts were filled with confidence, and who were spiritless from melancholy. In that battle which maketh the hearts of men tremble with fear, who were they that struck the first blow, mine or they, belonging to the Pandavas? Tell me out these, among whose troops did the flowery garlands and unguents emit fragrant odors, and whose troops, hovering fiercely, uttered merciful words? Sanjaya said, the combatants of both armies were cheerful then, and the flowery garlands and perfumes of both troops emitted equal fragrance, and fierce was the collision that took place when the serried ranks arrayed for battle encountered each other, and the sound of musical instruments mingled with the blare of conches and the noise of drums, and the shouts of brave warriors, hurling fiercely at one another, became very loud. Dreadful was the collision caused by the encounter of the combatants of both armies, filled with joy and staring at one another, and the elephants uttering obstreperous grunts. Dhritarashtra said, assembled together on the sacred plain of Kurukshetra from desire of fighting, what did my sons and the Pandavas do? Sanjaya said, beholding the arm of the Pandavas arrayed, King Duryodhana, approaching the preceptor, said these words, behold, this vast arm of the son of Pandu, arrayed by Drupada's son, thy intelligent disciple. There are men brave and mighty bowmen, who in battle are equal to Bhishma and Arjuna, Yudhishthira and Virata, and that mighty cow warrior, Drupada, and Dhristaketu, and Hekitana, and the ruler of Kasi, and with great energy, and Purusiti, and Kuntibihoja, and Saivya, that blew among men, and Yudhihamanu of great prowess, and Utamaujas of great energy, and Subhihadra's son, and the sons of Draupadi, all of whom are mighty cow warriors. Here, however, who are the distinguished ones among us, the leader of arm, I will name them to thee for information. Thyself, and Bhishma, and Karna, and Kripa, who is ever victorious, and Asvatihaman, and Vikarna, and Saumadatta, and Jayadratha. Besides these are men heroic warriors, prepared to lay down their lives for my sake, armed with diverse kinds of weapons, and are accomplished in battle, or arm, therefore protected by Bhishma is insufficient. This force of these, protected by Bhishma, is sufficient. Stationing yourselves then in the entrances of the divisions that have been assigned to you, all of you protect Bhishma alone. the valiant and venerable grandsire of the Kurus, affording great joy to him, by loudly uttering a lowling hoar, blew conch. Then conches and drums and cymbals and horns were sounded at once, and the noise became a loud uproar. Then Madhava and Pandu's son both stationed on a great car onto which were yoked white steeds, blew their celestial conches, and his Kesha blew Pankhajanya, and the Dhananjaya, Devadatta, and Vrikodara of terrible deeds, blew the whole conch Paundra, and Kunti's son, King Yudhishthira, blew Anantavijaya, while Nakula and Sahadeva, Sugihasa, and Manipuspaka, and that splendid bowman, the ruler of Kasi, and the Maika warrior Sikhihanding, Dhristaryumna, Virata, and that unvanquished Satyaki, and Drupada, and the sons of Draupadi, and the Mike-armed son of Subhadra, all these severally blew their conches, and that blare, loudly reverberating through the welkin and the earth, and the hearts of the Dhritarashtra's. Then, beholding the Dhritarashtra's troops drawn up, the ape-bannered son of Pandu, raising his bow, when the throwing of missiles had just commenced, said these words to his Kesha. Arjuna said, "Thou that knowest no deterioration, place my car between the two armies, so that I may observe these that stand here desirous of battle, and with whom I shall have to contend in the labors of this struggle. I will observe those who are assembled here, and who are prepared to fight, who doing what is agreeably in battle to the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra." Thus addressed Vasudakesa, his Hikesa, placing that excellent car between the two armies in view of Bhishma and Drona and all the kings of the earth, said, "Behold these assembled Kurus." And there the son of Pritha beheld standing sires and grandsons and friends and father-in-law and well-wishers in both the armies. Beholding all those kinsmen standing, the son of Kunti, possessed by excessive pity, despondingly said, Arjuna said, "Beholding these kinsmen assembled together and eager for the fight, my limbs became languid, and my mouth becomes dry, my body trembles, and my hair stands on end. Gandiva slips from my hand, and my skin burns. I am unable to stand, my mind seems to wander. I behold adverse omens. I do not desire victory, not sovereignty, nor pleasures. Of what whose wound sovereignty be to us, or enjoyment, or even life, since they, for whose sake sovereignty, enjoyments, and pleasures are desired by us, are here arrayed for battle, ready to give up life and wealth, preceptors, sires, sons, and grandsires, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and kinsmen. I wish not to slay these, though they slay me, even for the sake of the sovereignty of the three worlds. What, then, for the sake of earth? What gratification can be ours by slaying the Dhritarashtra's, even if they be regarded as foes? Sin will overtake us if we slay them. Therefore, it behoveth us not to slay the sons of Dhritarashtra, who are our own kinsmen. How can we be happy by killing our own kinsmen, even if these, with judgments perverted by avarice, do not see the evil that ariseth from the extermination of a race, and the sin of internecine quarrels? Why should not we, who see the evils of the extermination of a race learn to abstain from that sin. A race being destroyed, the eternal customs of that race are lost, and upon those customs being lost, sin overpowers the whole race. From the predominance of sin, the woman of that race become corrupt, and the woman becoming corrupt, an intermingling of castes happeneth. This intermingling of castes leadeth to hell, both the destroyer of the race and the race itself. The ancestors of those vow their heat of Pinda and Vada ceasing, but the sins of destroyers of races, causing intermixture of castes, the rules of caste and the eternal rights of families become extinct. We have heard that men whose family heats become extinct ever dwell in hell. We have resolved to perpetrate a great sin, for we are ready to slay our own kinsmen from lust of the sweets of sovereignty. Better won't it be for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapon in hand, should impatiently slay me, and avenging an Ahmed. Having spoken thus on the field of battle, Arjuna, his mind troubled with grief, casting aside his bow and arrows, sat down on his car. Sanjaya said, unto him thus possessed with pity, his eyes filled and oppressed with tears, and desponding, the slayer of Madhu said these words. The whole on said, whence have come upon thee at such a crisis, this despondence that is unbecoming a person of noble birth, that shuts on out from heaven, and that is productive of infamy. Let no effeminacy be thine, this sweets thee not. Shaking off this real weakness of heart, rise. Arjuna said, how can I with arrows contend in battle against Bhishma and Drona, deserving as they are of worship, without slaying preceptors of great glory? It is well to live on even alms in this world. By slaying preceptors, even if they are avaricious of wealth, I should only enjoy pleasures that are blood-stained. We know not which of the two is of greater moment to us, whether we should conquer them or they should conquer us. By slaying whom we would not like to live, even they, the sons of Dhritarashtra, stand before. My nature, affected by the taint of compassion, my mind unsettled about duty, I ask thee, tell me what is assuredly good. I am thy disciple, instruct me, I seek thy aid. I do not see which should dispel that grief of mine, blasting my very senses, even if I obtain a prosperous kingdom on earth without a foe or the very sovereignty of the gods. Sanjaya said, having said this unto his Kesa, that chastiser of foes, Goda Kesa, addressed Govinda, saying, I will not fight, and then remained silent unto him overcome by despondence. His Kesa, in the midst of the two armies, said, the whole on said, thou mournest those that deserve not to be mourned. Thou speakest the words of the wise. Those, however, that are wise grieve neither for the dead nor for the living. It is not that I or you or those rulers of men never aware, or that our of us shall not hereafter be, of an embodied being, as childhood, youth, and decrepitude are in this body, so is the acquisition of another body. The man who is wise is never deluded in this. The contacts of the senses with their objects, producing heat and cold, pleasure and pain, are not permanent, having a beginning and an end. Do thou endure them, for the men whom these afflict not. who is the same in pain and pleasure, and who is thin in mind, is fit for emancipation. There is no existence of anything that is distinct from the soul, nor non-existence of anything possessing the virtues of the soul. This conclusion in respect of both these have been arrived at by those that know the truths, know that to be immortal by which all this is pervaded, no one can compass the destruction of that which is imperishable. It hath been said that those bodies of the embodied which is eternal, indestructible, and infinite have an end. Do thou, therefore, fight he who thinks it to be the slayer, and he who thinks it to be the slain. Both of them know nothing, for it neither slays nor is slain. It is never born, nor doth it ever die, nor, having existed, will it exist no more. Unborn, unchangeable, eternal, and ancient, it is not slain upon the body being perished. That man who knoweth it to be indestructible, unchangeable, without decay, how and whom can he slay or cause to be slain? As a man casting off robes that are worn out putteth on others that are new, so the embodied, casting off bodies that are worn out, entereth other bodies that are new. Weapons cleave it not, fire consumeth it not, the waters do not drench it, nor doth the wind waste it. It is incapable of being cut, burnt, drenched, or dried up. It is unchangeable, all-pervading, stable, firm, and eternal. It is said to be imperceptible, inconceivable, and unchangeable. Therefore, knowing it to be such, it behoveth thee not to mourn. Then again, even if thou regardest it as constantly born and constantly dead, it behoveth thee not yet to mourn thus, for of one that is born death is certain, and of one that is dead birth is certain. Therefore it behoveth thee not to mourn in a matter that is unavoidable. Our beings were unmanifest, on during an interval are they manifest, and then again when death comes, they become unmanifest. What grief then is there in this? One looks upon it as a marvel, another speaks of it as a marvel, yet even after having heard of it, no one apprehends it truly. The embodied is ever indestructible in every one body. Therefore it behoveth thee not to grieve for our creatures. Casting thy eyes on the duties of thy order, it behoveth thee not to waver, for there is nothing else that is better for a Kshatriya than a bately fought fairly, arrived of itself, and an open gate of heaven. Happy are those Kshatriyas that obtain such a fight. But if thou dost not fight such a just battle, thou shalt then incur sin by abandoning the duties of thy order and thy fame. People will then proclaim thy eternal infamy, and to one that is held in respect, infamy is greater than death itself. Our great cow warriors will regard thee as abstaining from battle, from fear, and thou wilt be talked lightly by those that had esteemed thee highly. Thy enemies, decrying thy prowess, will say many words which should not be said. What can be more painful than that? Slaying, thou wilt attain to heaven, or victorious, thou wilt enjoy the earth. Therefore arise, resolved for battle, regarding pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat, as equal, Do bately for batley's sake, and sin will not be thine. This knowledge that hath been communicated to thee is in the Sankhya. Listen now to that in yoga. Possessed of that knowledge, thou wilt cast off the bonds of action. In these there is no waste of even the first attempt. There are no impediments. Even a little of this spirit delivers from great fear. Here there is one state of mind consisting in firm devotion. The minds of those, however, that are not firmly devoted are men-branched and attached to endless pursuits, that flowery talk wish, they that are ignorant, they that delight in the wars of the Vedas, they that say that there is nothing else, they whose minds are attached to worldly pleasures, they that regard heaven as the highest object of acquisition, utter and promises birth as the fruit of action, and concerns itself with multifarious rites of specific characters for the attainment of pleasures and power. Deluded their hearts and the minds of these men who are attached to pleasures and power cannot be directed to contemplation, regarding it as the sole means of emancipation. The Vedas are concerned with three qualities. Be thou free from them, unaffected by pairs of contraries, ever adhering to patience without anxiety for new acquisitions or protection of those already acquired, and self-possessed. Whatever objects are served by tank or well may all be served by vast sheet of water extending around. So whatever objects may be served by all the Vedas may all be read by Brahmana having knowledge. Thy concern is with work only, but not with the fruit. Let not the fruit be thy motive for work, nor let thy inclination be for inaction. Staying in devotion, apply thyself to work, casting off attachment, and being the same in success or unsuccess. This equanimity is called yoga. Work is far inferior to devotion. Seek thou the protection of devotion. They that work for the sake of fruit are miserable. He who hath devotion throws off, even in this world, both good actions and bad actions. Therefore, apply thyself to devotion. Devotion is on cleverness in action. The wise, possessed of devotion, cast off the fruit born of action, and free from the obligation of birth, attend to that region where there is no unhappiness. When thy mind shall have crossed the maze of delusion, then shalt thou attend to an indifference as regards the hereable and the hurt. When thy mind, distracted by what thou hast heard, will be firmly and immovably fixed on contemplation, then wilt thou attend to devotion. Arjuna said, what are the indications of one whose mind is fixed on contemplation? How should one of steered mind speak, how sit, how move? The whole one said, when one casts off all the desires of his heart, and is pleased with self, then is one said to be of steered mind. He whose mind is not agitated amid calamities, whose craving for pleasure is gone, who is freed from attachment, fear, and wrath, is said to be a muni of steered mind. He is steadiness of mind, who is without affection everywhere, and who feeleth no exultation and no aversion on obtaining diverse objects that are agreeably and disagreeably. When one withdraws his senses from the objects of senses, as the tortoise its limbs from all sides, even his is steadiness of mind. Objects of senses fall back from an abstinent person, but not so the passion. Even the passion he sees from one who has beheld the Supreme. The agitating senses possibly draw away the mind of even a wise man striving hard to keep himself aloof from them. Restraining them all, one should stay in contemplation, making me his sole refuge. For his is steadiness of mind, whose senses are under control. Thinking of the objects of sense, a person's attachment is begotten towards them. From attachment springeth wrath, from wrath riseth want of discrimination, from want of discrimination loss of memory, from loss of memory loss of understanding, and from loss of understanding is utterly ruined. But the self-restrained man, enjoying objects with senses freed from attachment and aversion, and under his own control, attaineth to peace. On peace being attained, the annihilation of all his miseries taketh place. Since the mind of him whose heart is peaceful soon becometh stead. He who is not self-restrained hath no contemplation. He who hath no contemplation hath no peace. Whence can there be happiness for him who hath no peace? For the heart that follows in the wake of the sense moving destroys his understanding, like the wind destroying a boat in the waters. Therefore, his steadiness of mind, whose senses are restrained on all sides from the object of sense. The restrained man is awake when it is night for all creatures, and when other creatures are awake, that is night to a discerning Muni, he into whom all objects of desire enter, even as the waters enter the ocean, which constantly replenished, still maintains its water mark unchanged, obtains peace, and not on that longeth for objects of desire. That man who moveth about, giving up all objects of desire, who is free from craving, and who hath no affection and no pride, attaineth to peace. This is the divine state. Attaining to it, one is never deluded. Abiding in it, one obtains on death absorption into the Supreme Self. Arjuna said, if devotion is regarded by thee as superior to work, why then dost thou engage me in such dreadful work? By equivocal words thou seemest to confound my understanding. Therefore tell one thing definitely, by which I may attain to what is good. The whole one said, it hath already been said by me, that here are in this world two kinds of devotion, that of the Sankhiyas through knowledge, and that of the Yogins through work. A man doth not acquire freedom from work, from the non-performance of work, nor doth he acquire final emancipation from own renunciation. No one can abide even for a moment without doing work. That man of deluded soul who, curbing the organs of sense, liveth mentally cherishing the objects of sense, is said to be a dissembler. He who, restraining senses by his mind, engageth in devotion of work with the organs of work, and is free from attachment, is distinguished. Do thou always apply yourself to work, for action is better than inaction. Even the supporter of thy body cannot be accomplished without work. This world is fettered by our work other than that which is for sacrifice. Perform work for the sake of death, freed from attachment. In olden times the Lord of creation, creating men and sacrifice together, said, flourish by means of these, let these be to you the dispenser of our objects cherished by you. Hear the gods with these, and let the gods hear you. thus fulfilling the mutual interest, you will obtain that which is beneficial. Propitiated with sacrifices, the gods will bestow on you the pleasures you desire. He who enjoyeth without giving them what they have given is assuredly a thief. The good who eat the remnant of sacrifices are freed from all sins. Those unrighteous ones incur sin who dress food for their own sake. From food are all creatures, and sacrifice is the outcome of work. Know that work proceeds from the Vedas. Vedas have proceeded from him who hath no decay. Therefore, the all-pervading Supreme Being is installed in sacrifice. He who conformeth not to this will that is thus evolving, that man of sinful life delighting his senses, liveth in vain. The man that is attached to self only, that is contented with self, and that is pleased in himself, hath no work. He hath no concern whatever with action, nor with an omission here, nor amongst all creatures is there any upon whom his interest dependeth. Therefore, always do work that should be done, without attachment. The man who performeth work without attachment attaineth to the Supreme. By work alone, Janaka and others attained the accomplishment of their objects, having regard to the observance by men of their duties. It behoveth thee to work. Whatever a great man doth is done by vulgar people. Ordinary men follow the ideal set by them. There is nothing whatever for me to do in the three worlds, nothing for me which hath not been acquired. Still I engage in action, because if at any time I do not, without sloth, engage in action, men won't follow my path on all sides. The worlds won't perish if I did not perform work, and I should cause intermixture of castes and ruin these people. As the ignorant work, having attachment to the performer, so should a wise man work without being attached, desiring to make men observant of their duties. A wise man should not cause confusion of understanding amongst ignorant persons who have attachment to work itself. He should, acting with devotion, engage them to our work. Our works are, in every way, done by the qualities of nature. He whose mind is deluded by egoism regards himself as the actor, but he who knoweth the distinction of qualities and work is not attached to work, considering that it is his senses alone that engage in their objects. Those who are deluded by the qualities of nature become attached to the works done by the qualities. A person of perfect knowledge should not bewilder those men of imperfect knowledge, devoting our work to me, with mind directed to self, engage impatiently, without desire, without affection, and with thy weakness dispelled. Those men who always follow this opinion of mine with faith and without cavil attain to final emancipation even by work. But they who cavil at and do not follow this opinion of mine know that, bereft of all knowledge and without discrimination, they are ruined. Even a wise man acts according to his own nature. All living beings follow nature. What then would restraint avail? The senses have, as regards the objects of the senses, either affection or aversion fixed. One should not submit to these, for they are obstacles in own way, on duty, even if imperfectly performed, is better than being done by other, even if well performed. Death on duty is preferable. The duty of another carries fear. Arjuna said, Impelled by whom doth a man commit sin, even tog, unwilling, and as if constrained by force. The whole on saith, it is desire, it is wrath, born of the attribute of passion, it is all devouring, it is very sinful. Know this to be the foe in this world. As fire is enveloped by smoke, a mirror by dust, the feitos by the womb, so is this enveloped by desire. Knowledge is enveloped by this constant fire of the wise in the form of desire, which is insatiably and like a fire. The senses, the mind, and the understanding are said to be its abode. With these, it deludeth the embodied self, enveloping knowledge. Therefore, restraining senses first, cast off this wicked thing, for it destroyeth knowledge, derived from instruction and meditation. It hath been said that the senses are superior. Superior to the senses is the mind, superior to the mind is the knowledge, but which is superior to knowledge is he. Thus, knowing that which is superior to knowledge and restraining self by self, slay the enemy in the shape of desire, which is difficult to conquer. This imperishable devotion are declared to Vivasvat. Vivasvat declared it to Manu, and Manu communicated it to Ixhaku. Descending thus from generation, the royal sage came to know it, but by a long time that devotion became lost to the world. Even the same devotion hath today been declared by me to thee, for thou art my devote and friend. This is a great mystery. Arjuna said, thy birth is posterior, Vivasvat birth is prior. How shall I understand then that thou hast first declared? The whole on said, many births of mine have passed away, as also of thine. These I know, but thou dost not. Tog, unborn, and of a sense that knoweth no deterioration. Tog, the Lord of all creatures, still relying on my own nature, I take birth by my own of illusion. Whenever loss of piety and the rise of impiety occurreth, on those occasions do I create myself for the protection of the righteous, and for the destruction of the evildoers. For the sake of establishing piety, I am born age after age. He who truly knoweth my divine birth and work to be such, casting off, is not born again. He cometh to me. Many who have been freed from attachment, fear, wrath, who were full of me, and who relied on me, have, cleansed by knowledge and asceticism, attained to my sense. In whatsoever manner men come to me, in the self-same manner do I accept them. It is my way, that men follow on all sides. Those in this world who are desirous of the success of action worship the gods, for in this world of men success resulting from action is soon attained. The quadruple division of castes was created by me according to the distinction of qualities and duties. Tog, I am the author thereof. Know me to be not their author and undecaying. Actions do not touch me. I have no longing for the fruits of actions. He that knoweth me thus is not impeded by actions. Knowing these, even men of old who were desirous of emancipation performed work. Do thou perform work as was done by ancients of the remote past? What is action and what is inaction? Even the learned are perplexed at this. Therefore I will tell thee about action. Knowing it, thou mayest be freed from evil. One should have knowledge of action, and one should have knowledge of forbidden actions. One should know of inaction. The cause of action is incomprehensible. He who sees inaction in action, in action in inaction, is wise among men. He is possessed of devotion, and he is adorer of our actions. The learned call him wise, whose efforts are all free from desire and will, and whose actions have all been consumed by the fire of knowledge. Whoever, resigning all attachment to the fruit of action, is ever contented and is dependent on none, doth not outward engaged in action. He who without desire, with mind and the senses under control, and casting off all concerns, performeth action only for the preservation of the body, incurreth no sin. He who is contented with what is earned without exertion, who hath risen superior to the pairs of opposites, who is without jealousy, who is equably in success and failure, is not fettered even though he walks. His actions perish, who acts for the sake of sacrifice, who is without affection, who is free, and whose mind is fixed upon knowledge. Brahma is the vessel, Brahma is the libation, Brahma is the fire on which Brahma is poured. Brahma is the goal to which he proceedeth by fixing his mind on Brahma itself, which is the action. Some devotees perform sacrifice to the gods, others by means of sacrifice offer up sacrifices to the fire of Brahma, others offer up the senses of which hearing is the first to the fire of restraint. Others offer up the objects of sense, of which sound is the first to the fire of the senses. Others offer up all the functions of the senses and the functions of the vital wind to the fire of devotion by self-restraint, kindly led by knowledge. Others again perform the sacrifice of wealth, the sacrifice of ascetic austerities, the sacrifice of meditation, the sacrifice of study, the sacrifice of knowledge, and others are ascetics of rigid vows. Some offer up the upward vital wind to the downward vital wind, and others the downward vital wind to the upward vital wind. Some, arresting the course of both the upward and the downward vital winds, are devoted to the restraint of the vital winds. Others, of restricted actions, offer the vital winds to the vital winds. Even all these who are conversant with sacrifice, whose things have been consumed by sacrifice, and who eat the remnants of sacrifice, which are Amrita, attain to the eternal Brahma. This wood is not for him who doth not perform sacrifice. Once, then the other. Thus diverse are the sacrifices occurring in the Vedas. Know that all of them result from action, and knowing this thou wilt be emancipated. The sacrifice of knowledge is superior to every sacrifice involving fruits of action, for our action is wholly comprehended in knowledge. Learn that by prostration, inquiry, and service. They who are possessed of knowledge and can see the truth will teach thee that knowledge, knowing which thou wilt not again come by such delusion, and by which thou wilt see the endless creatures in thyself, and then in me. Even if thou be the greatest sinner among all that are sinful, thou shalt yet cross over all transgressions by the haft of knowledge. As a blazing fire reduceth fuel to ashes, so doth the fire of knowledge reduce our actions to ashes. For there is nothing here that is so cleansing as knowledge. One who hath attained to success by devotion finds it without effort within his own self in time. He obtaineth knowledge who hath faith and is intent on it, and who hath his senses under control. Obtaining knowledge, one findeth the highest tranquillity in no length of time. On who hath no knowledge and no faith, and whose mind is full of doubt, is lost. Neither this world nor the next, nor happiness is for him whose mind is full of doubt. Actions do not fetter him, who hath cast off action by devotion, whose doubts have been dispelled by knowledge, and who is self-restrained. Therefore, destroying by the sword of knowledge this doubt of thine that is born of ignorance and that dwelleth in thy mind, betake to devotion. Arise. Arjuna said, Thou applaudest the abandonment of actions, and again the application. Tell me definitely which one of these two is superior. The whole one said, Both abandonment of actions and application to actions lead to emancipation, but of these application to action is superior to abandonment. He should always be known to be an ascetic who hath no aversion nor desire. For, being free from pairs of opposites, thou of like arms, he is easily released from the bonds. Fools say, but not those that are wise, that Sankhya and Yoga are distinct. On who stayeth in even one, he hath the fruit of both. Whatever seeth is attained by those who profess the Sankhya system. That too is reached by those who profess the Yoga. He seeth truly who seeth Sankhya and Yoga as one, but renunciation without devotion is difficult to attain. The ascetic who is engaged in devotion reacheth the Supreme Being without delay. He who is engaged in devotion and is of poor soul, who hath conquered his body and subdued his senses, and who identifieth himself with all creatures, is not fettered toward performing. The man of devotion, who knoweth truth, thinking, I am doing nothing, when seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving, sleeping, breathing, talking, excreting, taking, opening the eyelids or closing them. He regardeth that it is the senses that are engaged in the objects of senses. He who renouncing attachment engageth in actions, resigning them to Brahma, is not touched by sin as the lotus leaf by water. Those who are devout, casting off attachment, perform actions, purity of self, with the body, the mind, the understanding, and even the senses. He who is possessed of devotion, renouncing the fruit of action, attaineth to the highest tranquillity. He who is not possessed of devotion, and is attached to the fruit of action, is fettered by action performed from desire. The self-restrained embodied, renouncing all actions by the mind, remains at ease within the house of 9 gates, neither acting himself nor causing to act. The Lord is not the cause of the capacity for action, or of the actions of men, or of the connection of actions and fruit. It is nature that engages. The Lord receiveth no unseen, nor merited. By ignorance, knowledge is shrouded. It is for this that creatures are deluded, but of whomsoever that ignorance hath been destroyed by knowledge of self, that knowledge, like the sun, discloseth the Supreme Being. Those whose mind is on him, whose very soul is he, who abide in him, and who have him for their goal, depart nevermore to return their sins, being all destroyed by knowledge. Those who are wise cast an equal eye on a Brahma, and wait with learning and modest, on a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a khandala. Even here has both been conquered by them whose minds rest on equality. In size Brahma is faultless and equably, therefore they abide in Brahma. He whose mind is steered, who is not deluded, who knows Brahma, and who rests in Brahma, doth not exult on obtaining anything that is agreeably, nor doth he grieve on obtaining that is disagreeably. He whose mind is not attached to external objects of sense obtaineth that happiness which is in self, and by concentrating his mind on the contemplation of Brahma, he enjoyeth a happiness that is imperishable. The enjoyments born of the contact are productive of sorrow. He who is wise never taketh pleasure in these that have a beginning and an end. That man who ever here before the dissolution of the body is able to endure the agitations resulting from desire and wrath is fixed on contemplation and is happy. He who findeth happiness within himself, who sporteth within himself, he whose light is deprived from within himself, is a devout, and becoming one with Brahma attaineth to absorption into Brahma. Those saintly personages whose sins have been destroyed, whose doubts have been dispelled, who are self-restrained, and who are engaged in the good of all creatures, obtain absorption into Brahma. For these devotees who are freed from desire and wrath, whose minds are under control, and who have knowledge of self, absorption into Brahma exists both here and thereafter, excluding all external objects of sense, directing the visual glance between the brows, mingling the upward and the downward life breaths, and making them pass through the nostrils. The devotee who has restrained the senses, the mind, and the understanding, being intent on emancipation, and who is freed from desire, fear, and wrath, is emancipated. Knowing me to be enjoyer of all sacrifices and ascetic austerity is the great Lord of all the worlds, and friends of all creatures, such are on obtaineth tranquillity. The whole on saith, regardless of fruit of action, he that performs the actions which should be performed is a renouncer and devout, and not one who discards the fire, nor one that abstains from action, that which has been called renunciation. Know that to be devotion, since nobody can be a devout who has not renounced his hopes. To the sage desirous of rising to devotion, action is said to be the means, and when he has risen to devotion, cessation of action is said to be the means. When one is no longer attached to the objects of the senses, nor to actions, and when one renounces all his hopes, then is one said to have risen to devotion. One should rise self by self. One should not degrade self, for one's own self is one's friend, and one's own self is one's enemy. To him who has subjugated himself by himself is self a friend, but to him who has not subjugated himself behaves inimically like an enemy. The soul of one who has subjugated himself and who is in the enjoyment of tranquillity is steadily fixed amid cold and heat, pleasure and pain, and honor and dishonor. That ascetic is said to be devoted whose mind is satisfied with knowledge and experience, who have no affection, who have subjugated his senses, and to whom a sword, a stone, and gold are alike. He who views equally well-wishers, friends, foes, strangers that are indifferent to him, those who take part with both sides, those who are objects of aversion, those who are related, those who are good, and those who are wicked, is distinguished. A devout should always fix his mind on contemplation, remaining in a secluded place alone, restraining both mind and body, without expectations, and without concern, erecting his seat immovably on a clean spot, not too high, not too low, and spreading over it a piece of cloth, a deer skin, or blades of kusa grass, and there seated on that seat, with mind fixed on object, and restraining the functions of the heart and the senses, on showed praxis contemplation for the purification of self, holding body, head, and neck even, unmoved and steered, and casting his glance on the tip of his nose, and without looking about in any of the different directions, with mind in tranquillity, freed from fear, observant of the praxis of Brahmaharins, restraining the mind, with heart fixed on me. The devout should sit down, regarding me as the object of his attainment, thus applying his soul constantly. The devout whose heart is restrained attains to that tranquillity which culminates in final absorption and assimilation with me. Devotion is not on who eateth much, nor on who doth not eat at all, nor on who is addicted to too much sleep, nor on who is always awake. Devotion that is destructive of misery is his who is temperate in food and amusements, who do exerts himself temperately in all his works, and who is temperate in sleep and vigils. When on heart properly restrained is fixed on self, then indifferent to all objects of desire, he is called a devout. As a lamp in a windless spot doth not flicker, even that is the resemblance declared of a devout, whose heart hath been restrained, and who applieth himself to abstraction. That in which the mind, restrained by praxis of abstraction, taketh rest, in which beholding self by self on is gratified within self, in which on experiences that highest felicity, which is beyond the senses, and which the understanding can grasp, and fixed on which on never swerveth from the truth, occurring which on regards no other acquisition greater than it, and abiding in which one is never moved by even the heaviest sorrow. That should be known to be what is called devotion, in which there is a severance of connection with pain. That devotion should be practiced with perseverance and with an undesponding heart, renouncing all desires without exception that are born of his hopes, restraining the group of the senses on all sides by mind alone, on should by slow degrees become quiescent by understanding, controlled by patience, and then directing his mind to self, should think of nothing. Wheresoever the mind, which is restless and unsteered, may run, restraining it from those, one should direct it to self alone. Unto such a devout, whose mind is in tranquillity, whose passions have been suppressed, who have become one with Brahma, and who is free from sin, the highest felicity cometh. Thus applying his soul constantly, the devout, freed from sin, easily obtaineth that highest happiness with Brahma. He who hath devoted himself to abstraction, casting an equal eye everywhere, beholdeth himself in all creatures, and all creatures in himself. Unto him who beholdeth me in everything, and beholdeth everything in me. I am never lost, and he is never lost to me. He who worshippeth me as abiding in all creatures, holding yet that all is on, is a devout, and whatever mode of life he may lead, he liveth in me. That devout who casteth an equal eye everywhere, regarding all things as his own self, and the happiness and misery of others as his own, is deemed to be the best. Arjuna said, this devotion by means of equanimity which thou hast declared, on account of hastelessness of the mind, I do not see its stable presence. The mind is hasteless, boisterous, perverse, and obstinate. Its restraint I regard to be as difficult of accomplishment as the restraint of the wind. The whole on said, without doubt, the mind is difficult of subjugation, and is hasteless. With praxis, however, and with the abandonment of desire, it can be controlled. It is my belief that, by him whose mind is not restrained, devotion is difficult of acquisition, but by one whose mind is restrained, and who is assiduous, it is capable of acquisition with the aid of means. Arjuna said, without assiduity, talk ended with faith, and with mind shaken off from devotion, what is the end of him who hath not earned success in devotion, fallen off from both? Is he lost like a separated cloud, or not, being as he is without refuge, and deluded on the path leading to Brahma? This my doubt it behoveth thee to remove without leaving anything. Besides thee, no dispeller of this doubt is to be had. The whole on said, neither here nor hereafter doth ruin exist for him, since none who performs good comes by an evil end, attaining to the regions reserved for those that perform meritorious acts, and living there for many years. He that hath fallen off from devotion taketh birth in the abode of those that are pious, and endeth with prosperity. Or he is born even in the family of devots, endeth with intelligence. A birth such as this is more difficult of acquisition in this world. There in those births he obtaineth contact with that Brahmic knowledge which was his in his former life, and from that point he striveth again towards perfection. And although unwilling, he still worketh on in consequence of that same former praxis of his, even on that inquireth of devotion riseth above the divine word. Striving with great efforts, the devout, cleansed of all his sins, attaineth to perfection after many births, and then reacheth the supreme goal. The devout is superior to ascetics engaged in austerities. He is esteemed to be superior to even the men of knowledge. The devout is superior to those that are engaged in action. Therefore, become a devout, even amongst all the devots. He who, full of faith and with inner self resting on me, worshippeth me, is regarded by me to be the most devout. Listen how, without doubt, thou mayest know me full, fixing thy mind on me, practicing devotion and taking refuge in me. I will now, without leaving anything, speak to thee about knowledge and experience, knowing which there won't be left nothing in this world to know. On among thousands of men striveth for perfection. Of those even that are assiduous and have attained to perfection, on some one knoweth me truly. Earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, also understanding and consciousness, thus have my nature been divided eightfold. This is a lower nature, different from this. No, there is a higher nature which is unmade, and by which this universe is held. Know that our creators have this for their source. I am the source of evolution and also of the dissolution of the entire universe. There is nothing else that is higher than myself. Upon me is all this like a hole of pearls on a string. Taste, I am the variadas. I am the splendor of both the moon and the sun. I am the are the Vedas, the sound in space, and the manliness in men. I am the fragrant odor in earth, the splendor in fire, the life in our creatures, and penance in ascetics. Know me to be the eternal seed of our beings. I am the intelligence of our creators, endowed with intelligence, the glory of our glorious objects. I am the strength of all that are endowed with strength, free from desire and thirst, and I am the desire consistent with duty in our creators, and our existence which are of the quality of goodness, and which are of the quality of passion and quality of darkness. Know that they are from me. I am not in them, but they are in me. This entire universe, deluded by these three entities, consisting of three qualities, knoweth not me that I am beyond them and undecaying. Since this illusion of mine, depending on the qualities, is exceedingly marvelous and highly difficult of being transcended. They that resort to me alone cross this illusion. Doers of evil, ignorant men, the worst of their species, robbed of their knowledge by illusion and wedded to the state of demons, do not resort to me. Four classes of doers of good deeds worship me. He that is distressed, that is possessed of knowledge, being always devoted and having his faith in on, is superior to the rest. For unto the man of knowledge I am dear above everything, and he is dear to me. All these are noble, but the man of knowledge is regarded to be my very self, since he, with so fixed on abstraction, taketh refuge in me as the highest goal. At the end of many births, the man possessed of knowledge attaineth to me. That Vasudeva is all this. Such a high-souled person, however, is exceedingly hard. They who have been robbed of knowledge by desire resort to their godheads, observant of diverse regulations, and controlled by their own nature. Whatever form any worshipper desireth to worship with faith, that faith of his unto that a hander is steered, and that with that faith he payeth his adorations to that, and obtaineth from that all his desire, since all those are ordained by me. The fruits, however, of those persons endowed with little intelligence are perishable. They that worship the divinities go to the divinities. They that worship me come even to me. They that have no discernment regard me who I am unmanifest to have become manifest, because they do not know the transcendent and undecaying state of mind, than which there is nothing higher. Shrouded by the illusion of my inconceivable power, I am not manifest to all. This deluded world knoweth not me that I am unborn and undecaying. I know all things that have been past, and all things that are present, and all things that are to be. But there is nobody that knoweth me. All creatures are deluded at the time of their birth by the delusion of pairs of opposites arising from desire and aversion. But those persons of meritorious deeds, whose sins have attained their end, being freed from the delusion of pairs of opposites, worship me, firm in their vow. Those who, taking refuge in me, strive for release from decay and death, know Brahman, the entire Adhi-Atma and action, and they who know me with the Adhi-Vihuta, the Adhi-Daiva, and the Adhi-Yajna, having minds fixed on abstraction, know me at the time of their departure. Arjuna said, what is that Brahman? What is Adhi-Atma? What is action? What has been said to be Adhi-Vihuta, and what is called Adhi-Daiva? Who is here Adhi-Yajna, and how is this body? And how at the time of departure art thou to be known by those that have restrained their self? The whole one said, Brahman is the supreme and indestructible Adhi-Atma, is said to be its own manifestation. The offering which causeth the production and development of all these is called action. Remembering me alone in last moments, he that, casting off his body, departeth, cometh into my sense. There is no doubt in this, whichever form one remembereth when one casteth off at the end body, unto that one he goeth. Having habitual, meditate on it always. Therefore, think of me at all times, and engage in battle, fixing thy mind and understanding on me. Thou wilt, without doubt, come even to me. Thinking with a mind not running to other objects, and ended with abstraction in the form of an interrupted application, on goeth unto the divine and supreme male being. He who, at the time of his departure, with a steady mind, ended with reverence, with power of abstraction, and directing the life breath called prana between the eyebrows, thinketh of that ancient seer, who is the ruler, who is minuter than the minutest atom, who is the ordainer of all, who is inconceivably in form, and who is beyond all darkness, cometh unto that divine and supreme male being. I will tell thee in brief about that seer which persons conversant with the Vedas declare to be indestructible, which is entered by ascetics freed from all longings, and in expectation of which practice the vows of Brahmacharis, casting off body, he who departeth, stopping up all the doors, confining the mind within the heart, placing his own life breath called prana between the eyebrows, hasting on continued meditation, uttering his own syllable Om, which is Brahman, and thinking of me, attaineth to the highest goal. He who always thinketh of me with mind, ever withdraw from all other objects, unto that devout, always engaged on meditation, I am years of access. High-souled persons who have achieved the highest perfection, attaining to me, do not incur rebirth, which is the abode of sorrow, and which is transient. All the words from the abode of Brahman downwards have to go through a round of births. On attaining to me, however, there is no rebirth. They who know a day of a Brahman to end after 1,000 yugas, and a night to terminate after 1,000 yugas, are persons that know day and night. On the advent of day, everything that is manifest springeth from the unmanifest, and when night cometh into that same which is called unmanifest, all things disappear. That same assemblage of creatures spring forth again and again, dissolveth on the advent of night, and springeth forth when day cometh, constrained. There is another entity, unmanifest and eternal, which is beyond that unmanifest, and which is not destroyed when all the entities are destroyed. It is said to be unmanifest and indestructible. They call it the highest goal, attaining which no one have to come back. That is my supreme seed, that supreme being, he within whom are all entities, and by whom all this is permeated, is to be attained by severance and directed to any other object. I will tell thee the times in which the thoughts departing go, never to return or to return. The fire, the light, the day, the lighted fortnight, the 6 months of the northern solstice, departing from here, the persons knowing Brahma go through this path to Brahma. Smoke, night, also the dark fortnight, the 6 months of the southern solstice. Through this path the thought, attaining to the lunar light, returneth. The bright and the dark, these two paths are regarded to be the eternal of the universe, but the one goeth never to return, but the other one cometh back. Knowing these two paths, no thought is deluded. Therefore, at all times, be endued with devotion, the meritorious fruit that is prescribed for the Vedas, for sacrifices, for ascetic austerities, and for gifts. A devout, knowing all these, attaineth to it all, and attaineth the supreme and primeval seed. Now I will tell thee that art without envy, that most mysterious knowledge along with experience, knowing which thou wilt be freed from evil. This is royal science, a royal mystery, highly cleansing, directly apprehensibly, consistent with the sacred laws, is to practice imperishably. Those persons who have no faith in the sacred doctrine, not attaining to me, return to the path of this world that is subject to destruction. This entire universe is pervaded by me in my unmanifest form. Our entities are in me, but I do not reside in them, nor yet are our entities in me. Behold my divine power, supporting our entities and producing our entities. Myself doth not reside in entities, as the great and ubiquitous atmosphere always occupieth space. Understand that our entities reside in me in the same way. Our entities attain to my nature at the close of a kalpa. I create them again at the beginning of a kalpa. Regulating my own nature, I create again, and in this whole assemblage of entities, which is plastic in consequence of its subjection to nature. Those acts, however, do not fetter me who sitteth as unconcerned, being unattached to those acts. Through me, the overlooker, primal nature produceth the mobiles and immobiles. For the reason the universe passeth through its rounds, not knowing my supreme nature of the great Lord of all entities. Ignorant people of vain hopes, vain acts, vain knowledge, confounded minds, wedded to the delusive nature of Asuras and Hakishasas, disregard me that have assumed a human body. But high-souled ones, possessed of divine nature, and with minds directed to nothing else, worship me, knowing to be the origin of all entities, and indestructible, always glorifying me, striving with firm vows, bowing down to me with reverence, and ever devoted, worship me. Others again, performing the sacrifice of knowledge, worship me, as one, as distinct, as pervading the universe in many forms. I am the Vedic sacrifice. I am the sacrifice enjoined in the Smriti. I am Sivadiha. I am the medicament produced from herbs. I am the mantra. I am the sacrificial libation. I am the fire, and I am the offering. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the creator, grandsire, the thing to be known, the means by which everything is cleansed, the syllabi Om, the Hik, the Saman, and the Iajus, the supporter, the goal, the Lord, the onlooker, the abode, the refuge, the friend, the source, the destruction, the support, the receptacle, and the indestructible seed. I give heat, I produce and suspend rain. I am immortality and death, and I am the existent and the non-existent. They who know the three branches of knowledge also drink the summer juice, and whose sins have been cleansed, worshipping me by sacrifices, seek admission into heaven, and these attaining to the sacred region of the chief of the gods, enjoy in heaven the celestial pleasure of the gods. Having enjoyed that celestial world of vast extent, upon exhaustion of their merit, they enter the mortal world. It is thus that they who accept the doctrines of the three Vedas and wish for objects of desires, obtain going and coming. Those persons who, thinking without directing their minds to anything else, worship me, of those who are always devoted, I make them gifts and preserve what they have. Even those devout who, endowed with faith, worship other godheads, even they worship me alone, irregularly. I am the enjoyer, as also the Lord of all sacrifices. They, however, do not know me truly, hence they fall off. They whose vows are directed to the Pitris attain to the Pitris, who direct worship to the inferior spirits called Bhutas attain to Bhutas. They who worship me attain even to myself. They who offer me with reverence, leaf, flower, fruit, water, that offered with reverence, I accept from him whose self is pure. Whatever thou dost, whatever eatest, whatever drinkest, whatever givest, whatever austerities thou performest, manage it in such a way that it may be an offering to me. Thus mayest thou be freed from the fetters of action, having good and evil fruits, with self endowed with renunciation and devotion. Thou wilt be released and wilt come to me. I am alike to all creatures. There is none hateful to me, none dear. They who worship me with reverence are in me, and I also am in them. If even a person of exceedingly wicked conduct worshipeth me, without worshipping anyone else, he should certainly be regarded as good, for his efforts are well directed. Soon becometh of virtuous soul, and attaineth to eternal tranquillity. Know that none devoted to me is ever lost, for even they who may be of sinful birth, women, Vaishyas, and Sudras, even they, resorting to me, attain to the supreme goal. What then of all Brahmanas and saints who are my devotees, having come to this transient and miserable world, be engaged in my worship? Fix thy mind on me, be my devote, my worshipper, bow to me, and thus making me thy refuge, and applying thyself to abstraction, thou wilt certainly come to me. Once more still, listen to my supernal words, which from desire of good I say unto thee that once be pleased. The hosts of gods know not my origin, nor the great rishis. Since I am in every way the source of the gods and the great rishis. He that knoweth me as the supreme Lord of the worlds, without birth and beginning, undeluded among mortals, is free from all things. Intelligence, knowledge, the absence of delusion, forgiveness, truth, self-restraint, and tranquility, pleasure, pain, birth, death, fear, and security, abstention from harm, evenness of mind, contentment, ascetic austerities, gift, fame, infamy. The several attributes of Criaturas arise from me. The seven great rishis, the four Maharshis before, and the Manus, partaking of my nature, were born from my mind, of whom in this world are these offsprings. He that knoweth truly this preeminence and mystic power of mine becometh possessed of unswerving devotion. Of these, no doubt, I am the origin of all things, from me all things proceed. Thinking thus, the wise, endowed with my nature, worship me. Their hearts on me, their lips devoted to me, instructing on another, and glorifying me, they are ever contented and happy. Unto them always devoted and worshipping with love, I give that devotion in the form of knowledge by which they come to me. Of them, for compassion's sake, I destroy the darkness born of ignorance by the brilliant lamp of knowledge dwelling in their souls. Arjuna said, Thou art the supreme Brahma, the supreme abode, the holiest of the holy, the eternal male being divine, the first of gods, unborn, the Lord. All the rishis proclaim thee thus, and the celestial rish Narada, and Asita, Devala, Vyasa, thyself tellest me. All these that thou tellest me I regard as true signs. Neither the gods nor the Danavas understand thy manifestation. Thou unknowest thyself by thyself. It behoveth thee to declare without any reservation those divine perfections of thine, by which perfections pervading these worlds thou abidest. How shall I, ever meditating, know thee? In what particular states mayest thou be meditated upon by me? Do thou again copiously declare thy mystic powers and perfections, for I am never satiated with hearing nectar-like words. The whole on said, Well, unto thee I will declare my divine perfections by means of the principal ons, for there is no end to the extent of my. I am the soul seated in the heart of every being. I am the beginning and the middle and the end of all beings. I am Vishnu among the Adityas, the resplendent sun among all luminous bodies. I am Marikhi among the Maruts, and the Moon among constellations. I am the Samaveda among the Vedas. I am Vasava among the gods. I am the mind among the senses. I am the intellect in beings. I am Sankara among the Rudras, the Lord of treasuries among the Yakishas and the Hakishasas. I am Pavaka among the Vasus, and Meru among the Piaked. Know me to be Vrihaspat, the chief of household priests. I am Skanda among commanders of forces. I am Ocean among receptacles of water. I am Bhirigu among the great rishis. I am the On, indestructibly, among worlds. Of sacrifices, I am the Japa sacrifice. Of immobiles, I am the Himavat. I am the fig tree among all trees. I am Narada among the celestial rishis. I am Hitarahatiha among the Gandharvas, and the ascetic Kapila among ascetics crowned with yoga success. know me to be his ravas among horses, brought forth by nectar. Airavata among princely elephants, and the king among men. Among weapons I am the thunderbolt, among cows I am Kamadihuk. I am Kandarpa, the cause of reproduction. I am Vasuki among serpents. I am Ananta among nagas. I am Varuna among aquatic beings. I am Aryaman among the Pitris, and Yama among those that judge and punish. I am Pralada among the deities, and time among things that count. I am the lion among the beasts, and Vinata, son among winged creatures. Of purifiers I am the wind. I am Hama among yielders of weapons. I am the Makara among fishes, and I am Janavi among streams. Of created things I am the beginning and the end and the middle. I am the knowledge of Supreme Spirit among all kinds of knowledge, and the disputation among disputants. Among all letters I am the letter A, and the Vanda among all compounds. I am time eternal, and I am the ordainer with face turned on every side. I am death that seizeth all, and the source of all that is to be. Among females I am fame, fortune, speech, memory, intelligence, constance, forgiveness. Of the Sama hymns I am the Vrihat Sama, and Gayatri among matris. Of the mouths I am Margasirsha. Of the seasons that which is productive of flowers. I am the game of dice of them that shed, and the splendor of those that are splendid. I am victory. I am exertion. I am the goodness of the good. I am Vasudeva among the Vrishnis. I am the Hananjaya among the sons of Pandu. I am even Vyasa among the ascetics, and Usanas among seers. I am the heart of those that chastise. I am the policy of those that seek victory. I am silence among that are secret. I am the knowledge of those that are possessed of knowledge, that which is the seed of all things. I am that. There is nothing mobile or immobile which can exist without me. There is no end of my divine perfections. This recital of the extent of perfections have been uttered by me by way of instancing them. Whatever of exalted things, or glorious, or strong, understand thou that everything is born of a portion of my energy. Or rather, what hast thou to do by knowing all these in detail, supporting this entire universe with only a portion, a stand? Arjuna said, this discourse about the supreme mystery, called Adihi Atman, which thou hast uttered for my welfare, hath dispelled my delusion. For I have heard at last from thee of the creation and dissolution of beings, thou of eyes like lotus petals, and also of thy greatness that knoweth no deterioration. What thou hast said about thyself is even so. I desire to behold thy sovereignty form. If thou thinkest that I am competent to behold that, then show me thy eternal self. The whole on said, behold my forms by hundreds and thousands, various, divine, diverse in hue and shape. Behold the Adityas, the Vasus, the Hudras, the Aswings, and the Maruts. Behold innumerable marvels unseen before. Behold the entire universe of mobiles and immobiles, collected together in this body of mine. Whatever else thou mayest wish to see, thou art not competent to behold me with this eye of thine. I give thee celestial sight. Behold my sovereign mystic nature. Having said this, Hari, the might Lord of mystic power, then revealed to the son of Pritha his supreme sovereignty form, with many mouths and eyes, many wondrous aspects, many celestial ornaments, many celestial weapons uplifted, wearing celestial garlands and robes, with unguents of celestial fragrance, full of every wonder, resplendent, infinite, with faces turned on all sides. If the splendor of 1,000 suns were to burst forth at once in the sky, that would be like the splendor of that mighty on, the son of Pandu, then beheld there in the body of that god of gods, the entire universe divided and subdivided into many parts, all collected together. Then the Dhananjaya, filled with amazement, with hair standing on end, bowing with head, with joined hands, addressed the god. Arjuna said, I behold all the gods, as also all the varied hosts of creatures. Brahman seated on lotus seat, and all the rishis and the celestial snakes. I behold thee with innumerable arms, stomachs, mouths, eyes on every side. Neither end nor middle, nor beginning of thine do I behold. Bearing diadem, mace, and discus, a mass of energy, glowing on all sides, do I behold thee that art hard to look at, endowed on all sides with the effulgence of the blazing fire or the sun, immeasurably. Thou art indestructibly the supreme object of this universe. Thou art without decay, the guardian of eternal virtue. I regard thee to be the eternal being. I behold thee to be without beginning, mean, end, to be of infinite prowess, of innumerable arms, having the sun and the moon for thy eyes, the blazing fire for thy mouth, and heating this universe with energy of thy own. For the space between heaven and earth is pervaded by thee alone, as also all the points of the horizon. At sight of this marvelous and fierce form of thine, the triple world trembleth. For these hosts of gods are entering thee. Some afraid are praying with joined hands, saying, Hail to thee. The hosts of great rishis and siddhas praise thee with copious hymns of praise. The Rudras, the Adityas, the Vasus, the Det, the Siddhas, the Visvas, the Asvins, the Maruts, the Usmapas, the Gandharvas, the Yakishas, the Asuras, the hosts of Siddhiyas, behold thee and are all amazed. Beholding thy mighty form with many mouths and eyes, with innumerable arms, thighs and feet, many stomachs, terribly in consequence of many tusks, our creatures are frightened and are also, touching the very skies of blazing radiance, many hued, mouth wide open, with eyes that are blazing and large, beholding thee, with inner soul trembling. I can no longer command courage and peace of mind, beholding thy mouths that are terribly in consequence of tusks, and that are fierce. I cannot recognize the points of the horizon, nor can I command peace of mind. Be gracious, thou that art the refuge of the universe, and all the sons of Dhritarashtra, together with the hosts of kings, and Bhishma, and Drona, and the Sutta son, accompanied by even the principal warriors of our side, are quickly entering thy terrible mouths, hindered fierce by thy tusks. Some, with their heads crushed, are seen striking at the interstices of teeth, as many currents of water flowing through different channels roll rapidly towards the ocean, So these heroes of the world of men enter thy mouths that flame all around. As moths with increasing speed rush for destruction to the blazing fire, so do people with unceasing speed enter thy mouths for destruction. Swallowing out these men from every side, thou lickest them with thy flaming mouths, filling the whole universe with energy. Thy fierce splendors are heating. Tell me who thou art of fierce form. I bow to thee, be gracious to me. I desire to know thee that art the primeval on. I do not understand thy action. The whole on said, I am death, the destroyer of the worlds, full developed. I am now engaged in slaying the race of men. Without thee, all these warriors standing in the different divisions shall cease to be. Wherefore, rise, gain glory, vanquishing the foe, enjoy swelling kingdom. By me have all these been already slain. Be on instrument, thou that canst draw the bow with the left hand. Drona and Bhishma and Jayadratha and Karna and other heroic warriors slay by me. Do thou slay, be not dismayed, fight, thou shalt conquer impatiently foes. Hearing these words of Kesava, the diadem ducked, trembling with joined hands, bowed and once more said unto Krishna, with voice shocked up and overwhelmed with fear, and making his salutations. Arjuna said, It is meet, his Kesa, that the universe is delighted and charmed in uttering thy praise, and the Hakishasas flee in fear in all directions, and the hosts of the Siddhas bow down, and why should they not bow down to thee, that are greater than even Brahman and the primal cause? Thou that art infinite, thou that art the refuge of the universe, thou art indestructible, thou art that which is, and that which is not, and that which is beyond. Thou art the first God, the ancient being, thou art the supreme refuge of this universe, thou art the knower, thou art the object to be known, thou art the highest abode. By thee is pervaded this universe. Thou art Vayu, Yama, Agni, Varuna, Muon, Prajapati, and Grandsaya. Obeisance be to thee 1,000 times, and again, and yet again obeisance to thee in front, and from behind. Let obeisance be to thee from every side. Thou that art all, thou art all of energy that is infinite, and prowess that is immeasurably. Thou embracest the all, regarding a friend whatever have been said by me carelessly, such as, not knowing this thy greatness from want of judgment or from love either. Whatever disrespect have been shown thee for purpose of mirth, on occasions of play, lying, sitting, at meals, while alone or in the presence of others, I beg thy pardon for it, that art immeasurably. Thou art the Father of this universe of mobiles and immobiles. Thou art the great Master deserving of worship. There is none equal to thee. How can there be one greater? Thou whose power is unparalleled in even 3 worlds. Therefore, bowing, prostrating a body, I ask thy grace. It behoveth thee to bear as a father son, a friend, friends, a lover, loved on. Beholding form before, I have been joyful, my mind hath been troubled with fear. Show me that form. Be gracious, thou that art the refuge of the universe, in a diadem, and with mace, discus in hand, as before. I desire to behold thee, be of that same four-armed form, thou of universal form. The whole on said, pleased with thee, I have, by my mystic power, show thee the supreme form, full of glory, universal, infinite, primeval, which have been seen before by none save thee, except by thee alone, hero of Kuruhays. I cannot be seen in this form in the world of men by anyone else, even by the stud of the Vedas and of sacrifices, by gifts, by actions, by the severest austerities. Let no fear be thine, nor perplexity of mind, at seeing this awful form of mine. Freed from fear, with a joyful heart, thou again see me assuming that other form. Vasudeva, having said all this to Arjuna, once more showed his own form, and that high-souled one, assuming once more gently form, comforted him who had been afflicted. Arjuna said, beholding this gently human form of thine, I have now become of right mind, and have come to my normal state. The whole on said, this form of mine which thou hast seen is difficult of being seen. Even the gods are always desirous of becoming spectators of this form. Not by the Vedas, nor by austerities, nor by gifts, nor by sacrifices, can I be seen in this form of mine which thou hast seen. By reverence, however, that is exclusive, I can in this form be known, seen truly, and attained to. He who doth everything for me, who hath me for his supreme object, who is freed from attachment, who is without enmity towards all beings, even he cometh to me. Arjuna said, of those worshippers who constantly devoted adore thee, and those who on thee as the immutable and unmanifest, who are best acquainted with devotion. The whole on said, fixing mind on me, they that constantly adore me, being endowed with the highest faith, are deemed by me to be the most devoted. They who worship the immutable, the unmanifest, the all-pervading, the inconceivable, the indifferent, the immutable, the eternal, who, restraining the entire group of the senses, are equal-minded in respect of all around, and are engaged in the good of all creatures, attain to me. The trouble is the greater for those whose minds are fixed on the unmanifest, for the path to the unmanifest is hard to find by those that are embodied. They who, reposing all actions on me, regarding me as their highest object, worship me, meditating on me with devotion, undirected to anything else, of them whose minds are fixed on me, are, without delay, become the delivery from the ocean of mortal world. Fix thy heart on me alone, place thy understanding on me, hereafter then shalt thou dwell in me. No doubt. If, however, thou art unable to fix thy heart steadily on me, then strive to obtain me by devotion from continuous application. If thou best unequal to even continuous application, then let actions performed for me be thy highest aim. Even performing all thy acts for my sake, thou wilt obtain perfection. If even these thou art unable to do, then resorting to devotion in me, subduing thy soul, abandon the fruit of all actions. Knowledge is superior to application. Meditation is better than knowledge. The abandonment of the fruit of reaction than meditation, and tranquility immediately from abandonment. He who hath no hatred for any creature, who is friendly and compassionate, who is free from egoism, who have no vanity, attachment, who is alike in pleasure and pain, who is forgiving, contented, always devoted, of subdued soul, firm of purpose, with heart and understanding fixed on me, even he is dear to me. He through whom the world is not troubled, who is not troubled by the world, who is free from joy, wrath, fear, and anxieties. Even he is dear to me, that devote of mine who is unconcerned, pure, diligent, unconnected, and free from distress, and who renounceth every action, even he is dear to me. He who hath no joy, no aversion, who neither grieveth nor desireth, who renounceth both good and evil, who is full of faith in me, even he is dear to me. He who is alike to friend and foe, as also in honor and dishonor, who is alike in cold and heat, who is free from attachment, to whom sensory and praise are equal, who is taciturn, who is contented with anything that cometh, who is homeless, of stead mind and full of faith, even that man is dear to me. They who resort to this righteousness, immortality, which have been declared, those devots full of faith and regarding me as the highest object, are the dearest to me. This body is called Kishetra, him who knoweth it, the learned cow Kishetrajna, know me to be Kishetras, the knowledge of Kishetra, and Kishetrajna, regard to be knowledge, what that Kishetra, and what like, and what things it undergoes, and whence, what is he, and what his powers are. Hear from me in brief. These have in many ways been sung separately, in parishes, in various verses, in well-settled texts, fraught with reason, and giving indications of Brahman. The great elements, egoism, intellect, the unmanifest, the 10 senses, the on, the 5 objects of sense, desire, aversion, pleasure, pain, body, consciousness, courage, all these in brief have been declared to be Kishetra in its modified form, absence of vanity, absence of ostentation, abstention from injury, forgiveness, uprightness, devotion to preceptor, purity, constance, self-restraint, indifference to objects of sense, absence of egoism, perception of the misery and evil of birth, death, decrepitude and disease, freedom from attachment, absence of sympathy for son, wife, home, and the rest, and constant equanimity of heart on attainment of good and evil, unswerving devotion to me without meditation on anything else, frequenting of lonely places, distaste for concourse of men, constance in the knowledge of the relation of the individual self to the Supreme, perception of the object of knowledge of truth. All this is called knowledge. All that which is contrary to this is ignorance. That which is the object of knowledge I will declare, knowing which one obtaineth immortality. The Supreme Brahma, having no beginning, who is said to be neither existent nor non-existent, whose hands and feet are on all sides, whose eyes, heads, and faces are on all sides, who dwells pervading everything in the world, who is possessed of all the qualities of the senses, devoid of the senses, without attachment, sustaining all things, without attributes, enjoying all attributes, without and within all creatures, immobile and mobile, not knowable because of subtlety, remote yet near, and distributed in all beings, remaining as it distributed, who is the sustainer of beings, the absorber and the creator, who is the light of our luminous bodies, who is said to be beyond our darkness, who is knowledge, the object of knowledge, the end of knowledge, and seated in the hearts of all. Thus is Hetra, and knowledge, and the object of knowledge have been declared in brief. Madhavot, knowing this, becomes one in spirit with me. Know that nature and spirit are both without beginning. Know that our modifications and our qualities spring from nature. Nature is said to be the source of the capacity of enjoying pleasures and pains, for spirit dwelling in nature enjoyeth the qualities born of nature. The cause of its births, in good or evil wombs, is connection with the qualities. The supreme Purusha in this body is said to be surveyor, approver, supporter, enjoyer, the mighty Lord, and the supreme soul. He who thus knows spirit and nature with the qualities, in whatever state he may be, is never born again. Some by meditation behold the self in the self but the self, others by devotion according to the Sankhya system, and others by devotion through works, others yet not knowing this, worship, hearing of it from others, even these devoted to what is heard, cross over death. Whatever entity immobile or mobile cometh into existence, know that to be from the connection of Kishetra and Kishetrajna. He seeth the Supreme Lord dwelling alike in all beings, the imperishable in the perishable, foreseeing the Lord dwelling alike everywhere, and doth not destroy himself by himself, and then reacheth the highest goal. He seeth who seeth our actions to be wrought by nature alone in every way, and the self likewise to be not the doer. When one seeth the diversity of entities as existing in one, and the ensue from that, then is one said to attain to Brahma. This inexhaustibly supreme self, being without beginning and without attributes, doth not act, nor is stained even when stationed in the body. As space, which is ubiquitous, is never in consequence of its subtlety tainted, so the soul stationed in every body is never tainted. As the single sun lights up the entire world, so the spirit lights up the entire matters. They that by the eye of knowledge know the distinction between matter and spirit, and the deliverance from the nature of our entities, attain to the supreme. The whole unsaid, I will again declare the supernal science of sciences, that excellent science, knowing which all the munis have attained to the highest perfection from this body. Resorting to this science, and attaining to my nature, they are not reborn even on our creation, and are not disturbed at the universal dissolution. The mighty Brahma is a womb for me, therein I place the germ. Thence the birth of all beings taketh place. Whatever forms are born in our wombs, of them Brahma is the mighty womb, the seed imparting sire. Goodness, passion, darkness, this quality is born of nature, being thou, the eternal embodied in the body. Amongst these, goodness, from its unsullied nature, being enlightening and free from misery, being deaf with the attainment of happiness and of knowledge. Know that passion, having desire for its essence, is born of thirst and attachment. That bindeth the embodied by the attachment of work. Darkness, no, is born of ignorance. Bewilders are embodied, that bindeth by error, indolence, and sleep. Goodness uniteth with pleasure, passion uniteth with work, but darkness, veiling, knowledge uniteth with error. Passion and darkness being repressed, goodness remaineth. Passion and goodness, darkness, darkness and goodness, passion. When in this body, in all its gates, the light of knowledge is produced, then should all know that goodness have been developed there. Avarice, activity, performance of works, want of tranquility, desire, these are born when passion is developed. Gloom, inactivity, error, and delusion, these are born when darkness is developed, when the holder of a body goeth to dissolution, while goodness is developed, then he attaineth to the spotless regions of those that know the Supreme. Going to dissolution, when passion prevails, one is born among these that are attached to work. Likewise, dissolved during darkness, one is born in wombs that beget the ignorant. The fruit of good action is said to be good and untainted. The fruit of passion is misery. The fruit of darkness is ignorance. From goodness is produced knowledge. From passion, avarice. From darkness are error and delusion and ignorance. They that dwell in goodness go on high. They that are addicted to passion dwell in the middle. They that are of darkness, being addicted to the lowest quality, go down. When an observer recognizes none else to be an agent save the qualities, and knows that which is beyond, he attaineth to nature, the embodied, by transcending these three qualities which constitute the source of our bodies, enjoyeth immortality, being freed from birth, death, decrepitude, and misery. Arjuna said, what are indications of one who hath transcended these three qualities? What is his conduct? How doth one transcend these three qualities? The whole one said, he who hath no aversion for light, activity, and even delusion when they are present, nor desireth them when they are absent, who, seated as unconcerned, is not shaken by those qualities, who sitteth and moveth not, thinking that it is the qualities that are engaged, to whom pain and pleasure are alike, who is self-contained, and to whom a sort of earth, a stone, and gold are alike, to whom the agreeably and the disagreeably are the same, who have discernment, to whom censure and praise are the same, to whom honor and dishonor are the same, who regardeth friend and foe alike, who have renounced are exertion, is said to have transcended the qualities. He who worshippeth me with exclusive devotion, he transcending those qualities becometh fit for admission into the nature of Brahma. For I am the state of Brahma, of immortality, of indestructibility, of eternal piety, and of unbroken felicity. The whole one said, they say that the Asvatiha, having its roots above and branches below, is eternal. Its leaves are the khandas. He who knoweth it knoweth the Vedas. Downwards and upwards are stretched its branches, which are enlarged by the qualities. Its sprouts are the objects of senses. Downwards its roots, leading to action, are extended to this world of men. Its form cannot here be thus no, nor end, nor beginning, nor support, cutting with the hard weapon of unconcern, these as vatiha, of hoods firmly fixed. Then should on seek for that place appearing whither, on returneth not again. I will seek the protection of that primeval sire, from whom the ancient course of life hath flowed. Those that are free from pride and delusion, that have subdued the evil of attachment, that are steered in the contemplation of the relation of the Supreme to the individual self, from whom desire hath departed, freed from the pairs of opposites, know by the names of pleasure and pain, repair, undeluded, to that eternal seat. The sun lighteth not, death, nor the moon, nor fire, whither going none returneth. That is my supreme seat. An eternal portion of me is that which, becoming an individual soul in the world of life, draweth to itself the senses with the mind as the six which outdepend on nature. When the sovereignty assumeth or quitteth body, it departeth taking away these, like the winged perfumes from their seats, presiding over the ear, the eye, touch, taste, and smell, and over the mind. He enjoyeth all objects of senses. They that are deluded do not see when quitting or abiding in, when enjoying or joined to the qualities. They see that, have the eye of knowledge, the thoughts exerting, behold him dwelling in themselves. They that are senseless and whose minds are not restrained, behold him not, even while exerting. That splendor dwelling in the sun, which illumines the vast universe, that in the moon, and that in the fire, know that splendor to be mine. Entering into the earth, I uphold creatures by my force, and becoming the Jewish moon, I nourish our herbs. Myself becoming the vital head, residing in the bodies of creatures that breathe, uniting with the upward and the downward life breaths. I digest the four kinds of food. I am seated in the hearts of all. From me are memory and knowledge, and the laws of both. I am the object of knowledge, to be known by all the Vedas. I am the author of the Vedantas, and I alone am the knower of the Vedas. There are these two entities in the world, the mutable and the immutable. The mutable is our creatures. The unchangeable one is called the immutable. But there is another, the Supreme Being called Paramatman, who was the eternal Lord, pervading the three worlds, sustaineth, size are transcend the mutable, and I am higher than even the immutable. For this I am celebrated in the world, and in the Veda as Purushottama, he who without being deluded knoweth me as the highest being. He know all, worshipeth me in every way. Thus hath this knowledge, forming the greatest of mysteries, been declared by me. Knowing this, one will become gifted with intelligence, and will have done all he needs do. Fearlessness, purity of heart, perseverance in knowledge and yoga meditation, gifts, self-restraint, sacrifice, study of the Vedas, ascetic penances, uprightness, abstention from injury, truth, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, freedom from reporting others' fault, compassion for all creatures, absence of covetousness, gentleness, modest, absence of hastiness, vigor, forgiveness, firmness, cleanliness, absence of quarrelsomeness, freedom from vanity. These become his, who is born to godlike possessions. Hypocrisy, pride, conceit, wrath, Hoodiness and ignorance are his who is born to demoniac possessions. Godlike possessions are deemed to be for deliverance, the demoniac for bondage. Grieve not, for thou art born to godlike possessions. Two kinds of created beings in this world, the godlike and the demoniac. The godlike have been described at length. Hear now from me about the demoniac. Persons of demoniac nature know not inclination or disinclination, neither purity nor good conduct, nor truth exists in them. They say that the universe is void of truth, of guiding principles and ruler, produced by the union of one another, from lust and nothing else. Depending on this view, these men of lost selves, little intelligence, and fierce deeds, these enemies are born for the destruction of the universe, cherishing desires that are insatiably and endowed with hypocrisy, conceit and folly. They adopt false notions, through delusion, and engage in unholy practices, cherishing boundless thoughts limited by death, and regarding the enjoyment of desires as the highest end. They are persuaded that is are fettered by the 100 noses of hope, addicted to lust and wrath. They covet to obtain this wealth today. These I will obtain later. These wealth I have. These will be mine in addition. These four have been slain by me. I will slay even others. I am Lord. I am the enjoyer. I am successful, powerful, happy. I am rich and often nobly birth. Who else is there that is like me? I will sacrifice. I will make gifts. I will be merry. Thus deluded by ignorance, tossed about by numerous thoughts, enveloped in the meshes of delusion, attached to the enjoyment of objects of desire, they sink into whole hell, self-conceited, is to be born, filled with the pride and intoxication of wealth. They perform sacrifices that are nominally so, with hypocrisy, and against the ordinance, wedded to vanity, power, pride, lust, and wrath. These revelers hate me in their own bodies and those of others. These haters, cruel, the vilest among men, and unholy, a whole continual down into demoniac wombs, coming into demoniac wombs, deluded birth after birth, they, without attaining to me, go down to the vilest estate. Threefold is the way to hell, ruinous to the self, lust, wrath, likewise avarice. Therefore, these three on should renounce. Free from these three gates of darkness, a man works out his own welfare, and then he prepares to his highest goal. He who, abandoning the ordinances of the Scriptures, acts only under the impulses of desire, never attains to perfection, nor happiness, nor the highest goal. Therefore, the Scriptures should be thy authority in determining what should be done and what should not be done. It behoveth thee to do work here, having ascertained what have been declared by the ordinances of the Scriptures. Arjuna said, what is the state of those who, abandoning the ordinance of the Scriptures, perform sacrifices and wait with faith? It is one of goodness, or passion, or darkness. The whole one said, the fate of embodied is of three kinds. It is born of their natures. It is good, passionate, and dark. Hear now this. The fate of one is conformably to his own nature. A being here is full of fate, and whatever is on fate, on is even that. They that are of the quality of goodness worship the gods. They that are of the quality of passion, the Yakishas and the Hakishasas. Other people that are of the quality of darkness worship departed spirits and hosts of behutas. Those people who practice severe ascetic austerities, not ordained by the scriptures, are given up to hypocrisy and pride, and ended with desire of attachment and violence. Those persons possessed of no discernment, torturing the groups of organs in bodies, and me also seated within bodies, should be known to be of demoniac resolves. Food which is dear to all is of three kinds: sacrifice, penance, and gifts are likewise. Listen to their distinctions as follows: those kinds of food that increase life period, energy, strength, health, well-being, and joy, which are savory, oleaginous, nutritive, and agreeable, are liked by God. Those kinds of food which are bitter, sour, salted, overhot, pungent, dry, and burning, and which produce pain, grief, and disease, are desired by the passionate. The food which is cold, without savour, stinking and corrupt, and which is even refuse and filth, is dear to men of darkness. That sacrifice is good, which, being prescribed by the ordinance, is performed by persons without any longing for the fruit, and the mind being determined that its performance is a duty, but that which is performed in expectation of fruit, and even for the sake of ostentation. Know that sacrifice to be of the quality of passion, that sacrifice which is against the ordinance, in which no food is dealt out, which is devoid of mantras, in which no fees are paid to the brahmanas assisting to eat, and which is void of faith, is said to be of the quality of darkness. Reverence to the gods, regenerate ones, preceptors, and men of knowledge, purity, uprightness, the practice of a brahmacharin, and abstention from injury, are said to constitute the penance of the body. The speech which causeth no agitation, which is true, which is agreeable and beneficial, and the diligent study of the Vedas, are said to be the penance of speech. Serenity of mind, gentleness, taciturnity, self-restraint, and purity of disposition, these are said to be the penance of the mind. These threefold penance performed with perfect faith by men without desire of fruit, and with devotion, is said to be of the quality of goodness. That penance which is performed for the sake of respect, honor, and reverence, with hypocrisy, which is unstable and transient, is said to be of the quality of passion. That penance which is performed under a deluded conviction, with torture of oneself, and for the destruction of another, is said to be of the quality of darkness. That gift which is given because it ought to be given to one who cannot return any service for it in a proper time and to a proper person, is said to be of the quality of goodness. That, however, which is given reluctantly for return of services, or even with an eye to fruit, that gift is said to be of the quality of passion. In an unfit place and at an unfit time, the gift that is made to an unworthy object, without respect and with contempt, is said to be of the quality of darkness. Om, Tati, Sati, this is said to be the threefold designation of Brahma, but that the Brahmanas and the Vedas and the sacrifices were ordained of old. Therefore, uttering the syllable Om, the sacrifices, gifts, and penances prescribed by the ordinance of all utterers of Brahma begin. Uttering Tat, The various heats of sacrifice, penance, and gifts, without expectation of fruit, are performed by those that are desirous of deliverance. Sat is employed to denote existence and goodness. Likewise, the word sat is used in an auspicious act. Constance in sacrifices, in penances, and in gifts is also called sati, and an act for the sake of death is called sati. Whatever oblation is offered, whatever is given away, whatever penance is performed, whatever is done without faith is said to be the opposite of sati, and that is knocked both here and hereafter. Arjuna said of renunciation, others are to know the true nature, and of abandonment distinctly. The whole on said, the rejection of the works with desire is no better learned as renunciation. The abandonment of the fruit of our work, the discerning call abandonment. Some wise men say that work should be abandoned as evil, others that the works of sacrifice, gifts, and penance should not be abandoned. As to that abandonment, listen to my decision, for abandonment have been declared to be of three kinds. The works of sacrifice, gifts, and penance should not be abandoned. They should be done. Sacrifice, gift, and penance are the purifications of the wise, but even those works should be done, abandoning attachment and fruit. This is my excellent and decided opinion. The renunciation of an act prescribed is not proper. Its abandonment from delusion is declared to be of the quality of darkness. As sorrow, when work is abandoned from bodily pain, on making such an abandonment, which is of the quality of passion, never obtaineth the fruit of abandonment. As on that should be done, when work that is prescribed is done, abandoning attachment and fruit also. That abandonment is deemed to be of the quality of goodness, possessed of intelligence, and with doubts dispelled. An abandoner that is endowed with the quality of goodness have no aversion for an unpleasant action, and no attachment to pleasant. Such actions cannot be absolutely abandoned by an embodied person. He who abandons the fruit of actions is truly said to be an abandoner. Evil, good, and mixed actions have threefold fruit hereafter for those that do not abandon. But there is none whatever for the renascer. Listen from me to those 5 causes for the completion of our actions, declared in the Sankhya, treating of the annihilation of actions. Substratum, agent, the diverse kinds of organs, the diverse efforts severally, and with them the deities as the 5th, with body, speech, or mind, whatever work, just or the reverse, a man undertakes. These 5 are its causes. That being so, he that, owing to an unrefined understanding, beholdeth his own self as solely the agent, he, doing mind, beholdeth not. He that hath no feeling of egoism, whose mind is not sullied, he, even killing all these people, killeth not, nor is bettered. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower, form the threefold impulse of action. Instrument, action, and the agent form the threefold complement of action. Knowledge, action, and agent are declared in the enumeration of qualities to be threefold, according to the difference of qualities. Listen to those duly. that by which on eternal essence is viewed in all things, and divided in the divided. Know that to be knowledge having the quality of goodness, that knowledge which discerneth all things as diverse essences of different kinds in consequence of their separateness. Know that knowledge hath the quality of passion, but that which is attached to single object as if it were the whole, which is without reason, without truth and meaning, that knowledge hath been said to be of the quality of darkness. The action which is prescribed without attachment, performed without desires and aversion, by one who longeth not for fruit, is said to be of the quality of goodness. But that action which is done by one seeking objects of desire, or by one filled with egoism, and which is attended with great trouble, is said to be of the quality of passion. That action which is undertaken from delusion, without regard to consequences, laws, injury, and power, is said to be of the quality of passion. The agent who is free from attachment, who never speaketh of himself, who is endowed with constance and energy, and is unmoved by success and defeat, is said to be of the quality of goodness. The agent who is full of affections, who wisheth for the fruit of actions, who is covetous, endowed with cruelty, and impure, and who filleth joy and sorrow, is declared to be of the quality of passion. The agent who is void of application, without discernment, obstinate, deceitful, malicious, slothful, desponding, and procrastinating, is said to be of the quality of darkness. Hear now the threefold division of intellect and constance, according to their qualities, which I am about to declare exhaustively and distinctly. The intellect which knoweth action and inaction, what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, fear and fearlessness, bondage and deliverance, is of the quality of goodness. The intellect by which one imperfectly discerneth right and wrong, that which ought to be done and that which ought not to be done, is of the quality of passion. That intellect which, shrouded by darkness, regardeth wrong to be right, and all things as reversed, is of the quality of darkness. That unswerving constance by which one controls the functions of the mind, the life breaths, and the senses, through devotion, that constance is of the quality of goodness. But that constance by which one holds through religion, desire, and property, through attachment, desiring fruit, that constance is of the quality of passion. That rogue which an undiscerning person abandons not sleep, fear, sorrow, despondence, and folly, that constance is deemed to be of the quality of darkness. Hear now from me of the three kinds of happiness, that in which one findeth pleasure from repetition, which bringeth an end to pain, which is like poison first, but resembleth nectar in the end. That happiness born of the serenity produced by a knowledge of self, is said to be of the quality of goodness. That which is from the contact of the senses with their objects, which resembleth nectar first, but is like poison in the end. That happiness is held to be of the quality of passion. That happiness which in the beginning and its consequences deludeth the soul, and springeth from sleep, indolence, and stupidity, that is described to be of the quality of darkness. There is not, either on earth or heaven among the gods, the entity that is free from these three qualities born of nature. The duties of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaisyas, and of Sudras, are distinguished by qualities born of nature: tranquility, self-restraint, ascetic austerities, purity, forgiveness, rectitude, knowledge, experience, and belief. These are the duties of Brahmanas, born of nature: bravery, energy, firmness, skill, not flying away from battle, liberality, the bearing of a ruler. These are the duties of Kshatriyas, born of nature. Agriculture, tending of cattle, and trade are the natural duties of Vaishyas, of Sudras also. The natural duty consists in servitude. Every man engaged in his own duties attains to perfection. Here now Haon obtains perfection by application to his duties. Him from whom are the movements of all beings, him by whom all this is pervaded, worshipping him by on duty, on obtaineth perfection. Better is on duty tog performed faultily than another's duty well performed. Performing the duty prescribed by nature, on incurreth no sin, on must not abandon, on natural duty tog stained with evil, for our actions are enveloped by evil like fire by smoke. He whose mind is unattached everywhere, who hath subdued himself, and whose desire hath departed, obtaineth through renunciation the supreme perfection of freedom from work. Learn from me on in brief, how on having obtained perfection attaineth to Brahma, which is the supreme end of knowledge. Endowed with a pure mind and restraining himself by constance, announcing sound and other objects of sense, and casting off affection and aversion, he who resideth in a lonely place, yet hath little, and restraineth speech, body, and mind, who is ever intent on meditation and abstraction, who hath recourse to indifference, who, abandoning egoism, violence, pride, lust, wrath, and surroundings, hath been freed from selfishness and is tranquil, becometh fit for assimilation with Brahma. Becoming one with Brahma, tranquil in spirit, on grieveth not, desireth not, alike to all beings, he obtaineth the highest devotion to me. By devotion he truly understandeth me, what I am and who I am. Then understanding me truly, he entereth into me forthwith, even performing all actions at all times, having refuge in me. He obtaineth through my favor the seat that is eternal and imperishable, dedicating in thy heart all actions to me, being devoted to me, resorting to mental abstraction. Fix thy thoughts constantly on me. Fixing thy thoughts on me, thou wilt surmount all difficulties through my grace. But if from self-conceit thou wilt not listen, thou wilt utterly perish. If, having recourse to self-conceit, thou thinkest, I will not fight, that resolution of thine won't be vain. Nature will constrain thee. That which from delusion thou dost not wish to do, thou wilt do involuntarily, bound by thy own duty springing from nature. The Lord dwelleth in the region of the heart of beings, turning all beings as if mounted on a machine, by his elusive power. Seek shelter with him in every way. Through his grace thou wilt obtain supreme tranquility, the eternal seat. Thus hath been declared to thee by me the knowledge that is more mysterious than in matter. Reflecting on it, full, act as thou likest. Once more, listen to my supernal words, the most mysterious of all. exceedingly dear art thou to me. Therefore I will declare what is for thy benefit. Set thy heart on me, become my devote, sacrifice to me, bow thou to me, then shalt thou come to me. I declare to thee truly, thou art dear to me. Forsaking our duties, come to me as thy sole refuge. I will deliver thee from all sins. Do not grieve. This is not to be ever declared by thee to one who practiseth no austerities, to one who is not a devout, to one who never waiteth on a preceptor, nor yet to one who calumniateth me. He who shall inculcate this supreme mystery to those that are devoted to me, offering me the highest devotion, will come to me, freed from doubts. Amongst men there is none who can do me a dearer service than he, nor shall an other on earth be dearer to me than he. And he who withstood this whole converse between us, by him will have been offered to me the sacrifice of knowledge. Such is my opinion. Even the man who, with faith and without cavil, will hear it, even he freed, will obtain the blessed regions of those that perform pious acts. Have these been heard by thee with mind undirected to any other objects? Have thy delusion by ignorance been destroyed? Arjuna said, my delusion hath been destroyed, and the recollection hath been gained by me. Through thy favor I am now firm, my doubts have been dispelled, I will do thy bidding. Thus I heard this converse between Vasudeva and the high-souled son of Pritha, wonderful, and causeth the hair to stand on end. Through Vyasa favor heard I this supreme mystery, this yoga, from Krishna himself, the Lord of Yoga, who declared it in person. Recollecting this wonderful whole converse of Kesava and Arjuna, I rejoice over and over again, recollecting again and again that wonderful form also of Hari. Great is my amazement, and I rejoice evermore. Thither where Krishna, the Lord of Yoga, thither where the great Bowman is, thither, in my opinion, are prosperity and victory and greatness and eternal justice.